not fall into.
So. Yeah, it's recognizing the conscious unconscious. Consciously recognizing the unconscious doesn't help.
Right.
Yeah, well, live, Zach. Welcome back to the Dynasty Grind. Dynasty Outhouse, Russ Fisher will hopefully join us later. And Zach is here early, kind of. Next week, it'll just be me unless I find someone else to come on because everyone's abandoning me. And I'm pretty depressed about that, to be honest. Like, no one wants to stream with me anymore.
Peter, I'm not even officially on this show. I've done the show for like 10, 11 weeks in a row as the guy on the couch in the movie Half Baked. I'm essentially Stephen Wright. I'm laying there. You're like, hey, did you kill my dog, man? And I'm like, no. And you're like, all right, come on. I believe him, yo. And that's pretty much.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but there was never going to be a good time. Yeah, I've got some interesting DMs this week. I know we've already got comments on the chat, and Bob says it's 4:00. How far behind are we already? But every time someone asks me one of these questions these days, I normally get, here's a question, spend 2 weeks researching it stuff. But since we've started doing the Dynasty Grind, I get the actual stuff. Everyone's talking about how slavish it is to answer trade questions. I gotta tell you, piece of piss. Like, these are easy. Keep them coming. Like, I answer so many questions. You're not getting the answer this 2-week research project question, and these are great. But every time someone asks them now, I'm like, come to the stream. Not because I'm promoting it, because Russ and Zach might have a different idea, and I know, like, this is just one man's perspective, one boy, really, perspective. Maxim, don't know if you managed to make it or you managed to make it later, but he was asking about trading J.K. Dobbins for Chris Godwin. And I said, Dobbins wins in a trade calculator. He's young. He's a running back. He's on the Baltimore Ravens. It's awesome. It's awesome to have Dobbins, and he does. But, like, I see him as a top 24 upside, but I do know the unusual can happen, and so maybe it can be top 12. Chris Godwin is a falling dynasty asset that's not going to have value in the future. But I honestly said, I probably lean the Godwin side there, but I think you can do better for Dobbins. But come to the stream. And he showed me his team. He said, I'm weak at wide receiver. And the first thing is, if you're all out there thinking you're weak at wide receiver, if you've got Justin Jefferson, Terry McLaurin, T. Higgins, and Chris Godwin, I think that's not weak at wide receiver. That's pretty strong at wide receiver, from my opinion. But I thought it'd be interesting if he turned up and asked your perspective. Because my first look at his team, what I said is you need to investigate trading Dobbins and Akers, but you don't necessarily have to go for Chris Godwin. You can find Michael Thomas plus draft capital, but my general idea would be to trade those running backs for value and then see what running back with a young wide receiver or a wide receiver I can get. Because if you convert them into value, like draft picks or a younger player, at the wide receiver position, then you can go and try to choose who you trade for rather than being lumbered with what someone's willing to give you for Dobbins. And that tends to be the way I approach trades. But, especially doing that trade thread, the more and more I learn, I suck at trades. So I was like, come to the stream, ask Zach. So thoughts on that?
I think that's pretty spot, Peter, what you just said. And I think Dobbins, I would try to trade now because I think people are still in on Dobbins. I don't think that there's going to be a huge uptick in his value when he comes back, because I think people have already got it in their head that he's going to come in, be the running back one in Baltimore. So I think he will be. He's a piece that I'm willing to trade, especially if we're looking at young receivers. And I think you're absolutely right that you can probably do better than Godwin.
See, that's the thing that hits me with trade questions. Like, I don't want to tell people who to like. Really, I'll tell you who I like, and you can do what you want. But I really do like Godwin should score points when he comes back. He's a great wide receiver, but I'm like, you can probably find someone higher up on your list for that. And that's what I end up saying, make a list, go top to bottom, see who you can get if you can't get higher.
Absolutely. And the Akers side of that, and again, he's another player that I would be looking to trade, but I think I'm waiting a little bit to trade Akers because I think the community will come up on Akers again. The last thing you saw was him be in the playoffs. He came back off that injury, the Achilles, and so it was amazing to see him back. but I think we're going to see a bigger uptick the closer we get to the season with him. But yeah, I'm with you. Those are two running backs that I am definitely shopping to get young wide receivers or picks, 2023 picks, and be happy.
He also had Swift on his team, and that was my first go-to. I was like, yeah, I if I have Swift, I actively shop him first, but it's too much to throw at someone when they're just asking for an individual trade. So I'm like, maybe come by the stream sometime. G Money, hey, always looking forward to the show. Really appreciate that, my dude. Got a win now team. Awesome to hear. Trying to upgrade at tight end. 12 team Superflex, half PPR, half point PPR. He has Muth and Knox, which is just all the T kind of a tight end core. I think you're okay with Muth and Knox. You've got a streaming duo there. Yeah. There's upside in Muth. What would you add to either to get Kelsey or Waller? Good question. I think it's about your league, but I honestly think in some leagues, Muth is really attractive to the Kelsey or the Waller owner if they're scared of age. Yeah. So it depends who's rostering them. I don't know how you feel out players. I don't know how you do you know this guy in your league with Kelsey or Waller? That's the easy way in. Like Zach always says, know your league. Yeah. Because Leo told him to do that. But for me, I'm going in with a first and one of them and trying to get one of those guys. Assuming you have a late first, since you have a win now team. I think that sounds high, which makes it I don't like it, which means it's probably in the right place.
and I would go look at the rosters too of the people who have yes. Kelsey and Waller, because if you have one of those teams that's got a little bit of an older roster but is not competitive, I think Freiermuth and Knox really look appetizing to them, and then you may end up. I appreciate your first round pick. I think I would start off with like Freiermuth in a second and try to get Waller, because I think Waller's that step down from Kelsey, even though production wise he's still one of those top 4 or 5 guys that gives you an edge.
I really do think even Outhouse is like, I'm done with Waller. I'm like, I don't
Waller's fine. It's Kelsey's fine. Like tight ends, good tight ends.
George Kittle's fine.
Yeah, I mean, good tight ends will go, and I know everyone's like, oh, Travis Kelsey is 32 and Waller's 31, and but tight ends can play. I mean, they do, and until they don't. And so I would rather have one of those players than either Freiermuth or Knox. Although you're fine with those two, G Money, but you're probably going to have to play a little bit of the matchups. Whereas if you had Kelsey or Waller, because they're driving the targets and not just touchdown dependent, you're going to have a little bit better. Although if it's non-tight end premium, it's still Waller and Kelsey. But
the other thing is, I'm going to say the same thing. I don't know you have to upgrade your tight ends. No. I don't know that's the best move I would make. We're answering it from the perspective that's what you want to do. I mean, I think it's fine. And if you want to upgrade tight end, those are definitely the two I target. Maybe Kittle, but probably those two.
And because people are so high on Freiermuth and Knox, you might be able to upgrade at other positions with one of those two tight ends in your trade. And especially so if you send one, say you send Freiermuth and a second and get Waller, then all of a sudden you can start shopping Knox and add something to him, add a running back to get up to the next tier of running back, because people are higher on these mid-tier tight ends. It's the same old story. Who was the tight end in Los Angeles a couple years ago that everyone thought was going to be the guy? It wasn't Gerald Everett, but I don't remember.
I was on the team Gerald Everett. It's Higbee.
But I wrote it was Tyler Higbee, because I wrote the parody song, the Eleanor Rigby, Tyler Higbee. I don't pay up for mid-range tight ends, and that's exactly it. It was.
It didn't help him that he caught all the touchdowns for a week or two, and they were like, "See ya, 3 touchdowns a game, guaranteed."
That's what Freiermuth and Knox did last year. Was they caught 7 or 8 touchdowns, and that's huge, but it's not consistent, and it's not necessarily sustainable. So,
the lesson is clear: people just trade every player who scores you points, and also every player who's old, and just trade them all. But no, target good players, which is what G Money's done here. We spent about 10 minutes on it. So really appreciate it, G Money. I changed the background. No one has yet to give me an opinion on the backgrounds. I like that you can see the actual Dynasty Grind logo for when people see the YouTube video. I guess they know what the frick it is. But let me know. I kind of like the plain, simple black, but whatever. Todd Radmaker, in a 16-team Superflex, what would you pay to move up from the 103 to the 102 if Breece Hall was still on the board? Ooh, assuming that I know or strongly suspect Breece Hall is going to be the next selection, I mean, I would go in for it. It depends what's on your team. Value-wise, I'm okay adding like if I've got a 23 first, I add Breece. I add it. But that's as high as I'd go, probably. So that's a whole first to move up one spot. But if you're really convinced that they're going to take, like, Hall's a big teardrop for me, assuming that the QB went first overall.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. I don't think the receivers are in the same tier as Breece Hall. I would be hesitant to add
me too
a 23 first.
Like, it's high, but if you want to get it done, that's what gets it done. And I suspect Breece Hall is worth 2 firsts. So
yeah,
to
probably.
me, it would work out.
But I like, again, I'd also look at if I earned that 103.
Oh yeah, good point.
It's like I may not be at a point where getting the running back is going to be in a position to help me. So if I'm drafting a running back on a team where I earned the 103 and I haven't set myself up. So a lot of the leagues I play in have taxi squads where you can stash players for 2 years. So sometimes you earn the 103, but your taxi squad is stacked. Like you could conceivably, Justin Jefferson could be coming off your taxi squad this year. So
I mean, ideally, I just want to throw in my second round pick because it's just a one spot jump.
You're not going to get there. I don't think you're getting there for a second. Yeah. But I would try to either package a player with that pick or maybe you've got another. If you've got another first in this in this,
do you have
draft,
Terrence Marshall? I'd add him pretty easy to you. Michael Pittman, I'd had him. Michael Pittman and a first for Breece Hall. That's a really good trade for both sides, I think.
Yeah,
and I would do that. That's probably as high as I'd go though. And I picked out Michael Pittman because it's a running theme here. But honestly, yeah, Michael Pittman's a good wide receiver in a decent situation who was top 24 last year. The other team should feel like they're getting a good deal there. And just to move down one pick, like literally you're trading your first and Michael Pittman to move up. Like, they should be pretty happy with that, unless they are also desperate for running backs. I think both sides wins and you get the guy you want. Yeah. And you could look in that value range to see who else is there and who you don't like, but you might actually roster. And that's because we don't know who's on your team. That's the way I'd approach it. It's 4:36 p.m. How far behind are you? From Bob Gilchrist? A little bit. Not a lot based on that time.
No, we're spot on.
Weave. Good evening, lads. Confirmed sources are saying Pittman is having breakfast and practicing with Matt Ryan already. Thoughts? I hope they have enjoyed their breakfast. Those are my thoughts. Yeah. Like, I know. Most things I find myself in the middle in, so it's hard to give a fun, hot take. But like Matt Ryan, I think it's fine. He's been an amazing quarterback. He's in the twilight of his career, which I think is like way too talked down upon. Like, I think he's fine. I think Matt Ryan tends to take a while to warm up to systems. But I definitely think he can supply the ball for Michael Pittman. Michael Pittman was good last year. That is painful to say. I'm mostly selling. But Matt Ryan in Superflex is cheap, I would guess. So, yeah, I think that's positive. But it's not because they're having breakfast together, obviously. I get that this wasn't an actual question, but I'm going to pretend like it is. Wesley, Marlon Mack season. I remember Marlon Mack. I remember Marlon Muh season. Like, I got it right that one year, then completely backed out of Marlon Mack. And that was apparently the way to play it. Shout out to Bobby Koch at Reek Fantasy. He coined the term Marlon Muh. Weaves. I really want to move CD off an orphan. Why? But also, okay. I just got also has Justin Jefferson and Hopkins. Pretty competitive roster ideas. Yeah, looks like it. Do you need top tier value for CD Lamb? And it's difficult because he's one of those players that's in that value tier, but people are scared of. That's why I tend to trade DeAndre Swift and T. Higgins, because I think they are rightly valued, but people want them. So it's easier to get the value. And because the real value is what people are willing to pay. CD Lamb, it depends on your league, but I'm looking for 3 firsts of value. That's the top line of I would expect for anyone, and CD's in that tier for me. So what you can do is ask for a 23 first because they're all the rage, and I don't know who's worth 2 firsts. Dalvin Cook, Christian McCaffrey. These are injury risk players, which is why they're not worth 3, but they're also not worth 1. And you're improving your running back core. The other way I'd go about it, since you're saying you're trying to, it's a competitive roster, which is why I went that way. But if you're trying to sell CD, I'm assuming you're somewhat interested in the value. So CD for a first either year, but preferably 2023, I guess. But 2022 picks coming easier, plus Devonte Smith and more. Actually, he's not worth that much.
I'm curious.
Marcus Brown, Jerry Judy. I'd take Jerry Judy and 2 firsts. There you go.
I'm curious. We won't get to this until like 10:30, but I'm curious why we're looking to trade CD.
And to be clear, I understand I actually understand the awkwardness. The 17% target share. He doesn't have the typical career arc, but I've really started to build into my understanding of what's going to happen, specifically last year and this year, and it's working so far. Context of an individual situation. As someone trying to be a nerd, I wanted to stay as far away from individual context as possible. But it's really useful to say, okay, this is where the average is, but let's look at this individual example and see if it really pays off there. And with CD Lamb, I don't think you're looking at a wide receiver 2 years into his career that has a 17% target share. You're looking at a top 12 player with Amari Cooper on the team and Dak Prescott injuries, and that's just different. And his actual performance metrics are just stellar. So I'm less concerned. But
seeing that is absolutely, like, to me, when you're using the numbers, you're pulling out to make sure
that's what I use them for.
Yeah, to make
just
sure,
not being stupid.
Absolutely. So you're mitigating the risk, you're mitigating the failure of that. But it doesn't necessarily, when you come down into the macro level, mean that those averages and those trends work for each specific example. It works most of the time, but not all the time. Exactly. Bad for outliers. That's why they're outliers.
But hell, man, it's your team. If you want to trade CD Lamb, there's some rough value ideas, and that's what I do. If I'm trading a player, and I say that's what I do. I'm trying to develop trade as part of my process. Like, gone are the days I believe I can play the leagues I'm in. Like, I developed a process for before I was really in this space. Now my league mates see me coming with most of it. Like, I can't guarantee I'm going to get good trades to rebuild my roster for older players plus picks. And so I'm really having to janky it a little bit. And also my league plays declined the last 2 years, like, severely, because I've been doing this too much. So I'm really trying to reinvent it a little bit. And that's helping me. Just thinking about turning a player into value, then go getting whoever I actually want for the season. It's like trying to draft without a draft, essentially. If you convert it as much as possible into as pure value form, then you can kind of draft with it, kind of a thing. But that all depends heavily on what. And the trick with Dynasty is they're not just picks. If that player doesn't feel that way about that player, then you can't draft that player with the value that you have. And that's the difficult part, which is where Zach's and Leo's pay attention to psychology in your league mates. It's awkward. We don't want to do it. We just want players to accept and reject trades and go away. But paying attention to your league is actually important if you get to that point.
Hold on. You didn't go back to BJ. You missed that one.
I don't want to skip BJ Lee got off a DK today for Gabe Davis. If you've got Gabe Davis, you're basically in the money right now. Like, by the way, like, every trade I look up, and you look at the example trades on the DLF trade app, Gabe Davis is trading for so much good because people want him. His value is not too obscene based on it's a little obscene based on keep trade cut. He's in the same tier as like Marcus Brown and Jerry Judy and like all the players I actually want. And that's obscene to me. but people actually want him. And so the trades I see him in, like they're so good. And I want Gabe Davis to happen. I love lower drafted players and outliers and sleepers hitting. It's so much fun. But I think the odds are it doesn't. And right now you can get such good trades with Gabe Davis. So what did you get off? DK for Gabe Davis and the 103. Also a second and a third, but I don't care so much. 1 QB. I think that's high. Honestly, Davis and the 103 is where I draw the line. Like, he doesn't need my second and the third for that. But honestly, I want DK, so I'm not too scared.
That's what I was going to say. I would take the second out of it. Like resend that and take the second out of it.
I don't want to lose the trade just for a second, but he's pushing it a little, or she is pushing it a little far here.
and maybe add. So again, maybe say Davis the 103, the 303, and my next year's third, and do that whatever. Because again, I don't care about those. I don't really care about the second, but like it's still a little extra.
I can use that to do other things, and by the time we get there on the clock, someone's fallen, and you can get another trade or draft someone else that you want. And so, I'd take the second out of it somehow and risk losing the trade, which is all scary for me because I don't get any trades.
103, you're going to end up with somebody. I mean, you're going to end up in a.
That's a great pick. They should be happy with that. Honestly, they should be real happy with that. But they're not. So kind of take the second out of it. Who doesn't like Matthew Berry's favorite guy, to be honest? Mr. Mister started playing Dynasty last year. Now I'm commissioning a friend's startup this year. Good job, man. I have avoided commissioning this entire time, and I'm happy with that decision. I am starting to think I want to play in some leagues with like the people in my Discord and stuff, and so I keep thinking about it. But it's a hard gig, man.
You got to corner Russ and tell him
that, please, Russ, do it for me. Yeah. Does Taxi Squad get drafted in a startup?
So it depends on how you use your Taxi Squad. So the leagues that I'm in, and Mr. Mister, if you shoot me a DM, I am at Tacit Assassin 13 on Twitter, and I will send you a copy of our league rules. Basically, we have bylaws set up, and it details the Taxi Squad. What we tend to do is Taxi Squads are rookies that your team drafts, and they can stay on the Taxi Squad for their rookie year and their sophomore year before you either have to cut them or activate them, which means that they don't get drafted in a startup. They get drafted in your rookie draft. They immediately go on Taxi Squad, and then you have the ability one time to activate them onto your roster. Now, different people do it different ways. That's how we do it. But if you're interested in that, like I said, shoot me a DM at Tacit Assassin 13. I will send you the bylaws from I've got several leagues that Kyle Lebrecht commissions, and he does a great job with Taxi Squads. And so that's my long answer, short answer.
Yep. Russ Fisher commissions league, so he might have some different ideas when he comes back. I would say ask him on Twitter. Also, Scott Fish, he gets a lot of messages, I imagine, a day, but he actually loves commission because he wants to support commissioners, and he does so much commissioning. Like literally at him, that's something he will definitely respond to because he likes helping out commissioners. He and Ryan McDowell did a podcast called Commission Possible with DLF. I'd recommend that too if you're getting into commissioning. Like that would be on my listen to every week playlist if I was going to commission because they are the best at it. Outside of Kyle Lebrecht and Russ, obviously. John Bosch as well, at John Bosch FF. He does weird-ass leagues, but he means he knows every minute setting in MFL, so he's a good person to know.
And you might be able to find a Commission Possible episode that deals specifically with this. Taxi Squad. So go look up on your podcast app, Commission Possible, and then kind of go through and I'm sure that there is. I'm 100. I will unequivocally say there is an episode dealing with Taxi Squads that Scott and Ryan did.
It's a weird part of my fantasy life, the thing I do is I make a database and I make this data. Like, I'm more of a facilitator. I hate being the middleman, but like, it's tough to find. It's tough to know who to ask or where to find information. And I've become this guy who's like, I don't know, but this guy is someone you should ask. Go ask Linda Lyons about kickers. She's got you. Like, I direct you to the right place. And so much of this is that, because I don't know it. Once you accept, you know everything, you just find people, or you try to find people that do, and then you just recommend them. That's what I do anyway. Frolic and Heifer, commit or Alberto? Good question. I got
Alberto for me.
I just take the Russell Wilson bump in that situation, but they're both equal. Like, I think that's an even trade. If it's 1 for 1, I guess
I had a Quabenam hire coming out. I still have a Quabenam hire, and Russell Wilson landing there with Noah Fant leaving doesn't hurt that.
Definitely doesn't hurt it. No problem, buddy. Thanks for coming and asking. Randy, that wasn't a statement on my mood. Just to clarify, 14-team Superflex PPR. Started with Brady as my only quarterback. This is okay. And no first, no picks in 23 or 24. That's rougher. Turn Brady, Swift, and Mike Williams, AJ Dillon, and Junk into the 103, 110, 223 first. Harris, which is a good buy if you're shopping cheap. Zach Wilson, I mean, my condolences, but yeah, I see what you're doing here. Hurts, that's great. And Carson Wentz, that's fine. How do I do? I think you did a great job flipping that roster, to be honest with you. You're in that place where you could end up being competitive this year, but you definitely have value, and that tends to be where I'm trying to get to, so that I can use that value to become more competitive as time goes on. I like it. Good job. G-Money, where do you guys value DeAndre Hopkins for this year? I don't think DeAndre Hopkins has value. Yeah. When you're talking about Dynasty, but obviously he's DeAndre Hopkins. I do expect him to produce this year, strangely. And so he enters that weird mix of like Tyler Lockett, same thing. He's going to put up numbers. He has no value. He does, but he doesn't. So it's those kind of players are very much, is there a me in your league who's like, I'll take him? And so you send like a second and them for a first late. And they're like, thank you. And I go off and be an idiot trying to win. And you have a first at least. That's kind of thing.
Timing. Timing with these guys, with the veterans the veterans who don't have value now because it's the non-point scoring season. When they score points and when people need points here in 4 or 5 months, that is when you sell DeAndre Hopkins. That is when you package DeAndre Hopkins with another older player that you have. But right now, if you're not a competitive roster, he doesn't hold any interest for you, and you don't have the leverage right now. So wait until you have the leverage if you're going to sell DeAndre Hopkins. But I agree with you, Peter, that DeAndre Hopkins is probably going to be a top 24 wide receiver this year. I mean, it's what he does when he's healthy, when everyone everything is clicking the way it should be. You do expect Rondale Moore to come in and eat those targets this year, but no.
Sorry, Eric Brown just literally made a tweet that essentially I think it's specifically designed to make me get overly excited, and I'm busy getting overly excited. So let me click on the next question. Could you read it for me?
Yes. No, this is a response to Mr. Taxi Squad. Just extra space doesn't count against your active roster.
Derek Brown at Debo_FFB, who everyone likes, so you probably know him. He says, for everyone that says Tim Patrick is the most disrespected wide receiver, PA howdy check. I agree with that already. Already I'm in, whatever you're gonna say. I introduce you to Kendrick Bourne last year, and then he lists stats. I don't care. I'm like, I love everything about this.
All he's gonna do is sign it Zach Pascal, and this is like the Peter Howard Holy Trinity.
Put it in the chat. Everyone go thank Derek. That was an awesome tweet. That's his best tweet. That's
this is a Peter Howard tweet.
he has Pete's. That's the best one.
Oh, that is great.
Sorry. Where are we? Evan. I think Dobbins will disappoint relative to ADP. I agree. It's not that he won't score points or be a good player, though, to be clear. And he's a running back. So, people are going to love him. Athletes post AC. Oh, you've got an injury take. That's interesting. Usually take more than a year to really get back. That's a fair point, too. Like, it might take him a little lag before he's actually back. But after seeing Cam Akers return, like, I don't know. Anything can happen, I guess. But that's a fair point and not one I can disagree with at all. Because I don't know, haven't looked at it, but that's interesting. Thanks for letting us know. Plus money, how do you devalue quarterbacks in 10-team Superflex versus 12-team Superflex? The studs become even more important. It's not devaluing the position so much as those guys who have that top upside. Basically, they get a first of value dropped on them almost because they become that much. Like, studs are more important and increasingly. In fact, we play studs and duds is a thing. Like, basically, difference-making players are what you need. You need a couple to really make a run every year, even if the rest of your squad's streaming and sucks. Two good difference-making players can do it. At quarterback, they're a little more stable. We know who they are a little easier, and they have longer careers in general than the other skill position players. So they're just infinitely valuable in that way. And as you decrease roster sizes, those studs get increasingly valuable. That's the main effect of going from 12-team to 10-team. In terms of, and he's asking how I devalue QBs. So going in the other way, they don't really devalue in a 12-team league. They're just a lot less essential to trying to win, which I guess has a value effect. Yeah, it's somewhere between a first and a second, kind of that awkward value range, if I was to put a number on it.
But you also have, with the 12-team league, you have more quarterbacks, in theory, rostered, and fewer teams have, you're not all 12 teams are going to have two quarterbacks or three quarterbacks on a roster, whereas in a 10-team league, in theory,
everyone
you could have.
Yeah. That's a good point. Sorry, I forgot that.
Well, no, so it's kind of a give and take, but I agree with you. As a general rule, in a 10-team league, you're looking to consolidate and have the higher scoring, the stud roster. Whereas in a 12-team, it's a little more important to have depth. But I'm
too excited. Someone mentioned Kendrick Bourne. Sorry, just ignore me for a while. That's right. I completely forgot that aspect.
Sideways.
No one ever mentions Kendrick Bourne or Tim Patrick except me. Okay. Sometimes I think they're figments of my imagination. That's how bad it is. Zach Harris. Who are your favorite targets in the middle to late second round of rookie drafts? I don't know yet. Like, we really don't have a good line on that ADP. Yeah. I think David Bell's probably falling to the early second, so that would be cheating. I think Kyron Williams is probably being a little underrated just because of the combine. It's been a while since I checked in with draft Twitter because I did my thing and then I got out. And to be honest, I'm waiting for the draft. I got so bored, I was looking up at hit rates for teams by draft round today because I don't have much else to do with it. But if I were to guess, I tend to hit running back a lot down there. Do you think Brian Robinson's fallen to the late second?
He may. It depends on where he gets drafted. So a lot of this, Zach, is contingent on the NFL draft because we don't know.
Yeah, it's really contingent.
Yeah, but yeah, so Brian Robinson, Justin Ross, James Cook, Christian Watson, Sky Moore, some of those people are going to be, some of those guys are going to be in that range. You may end up with somebody like Isaiah Spiller falling, depending on how, people have cooled on him a lot. I still think he's really good.
Yeah, I'm just going to answer this from just wide receiver. There are a lot of running backs, depending on landing spot, that could get real interesting down there. So wide receivers are a little more clean in terms of what I think of their profiles. Assuming my top, six guys actually go earlier than that because I expect them to get some level of draft capital. That's why they're up there, and they've been pretty good in college. And outside, there's a Khalil Shakir tier, who I'm really interested in, but I think he's more of a third-round pick. I wouldn't mind taking him in the late second, but I'm not going to name those guys because I don't think we're there yet. Unless they get randomly drafted in the top 3, I don't think anyone else is going to be paying much attention to them. that leaves a solid core of players that Zachary mostly just mentioned. It's Wandale Robinson, Sky Moore, Williams and Ross probably get drafted early in that. I think the draft's going to fix that. And so it's Robinson, Sky Moore, maybe Jaheir Doxson, Jalen Tolbert, but I'm not overly excited about either. So the first two, Robinson and Sky Moore.
Dotson, to me, if I squint, like I have him graded out fairly low because of the way he plays. The only player in the NFL that I can think of that plays the way he plays and is successful is Brandon Cooks. And everybody has been trying to figure out how Brandon Cooks is going to fail for the last 5 years because he doesn't produce like anybody else because he's a downfield threat. He's a small player. He does all of these things that you're not supposed to be able to do. That's weird.
Because I know so little about him. I'm like, Brandon Cooks, really? Wow.
Yeah,
but I know a lot about them, but I look at it Dotson's career development in college looks to me like the type of profile that would have previously jumped up into late first round consideration, and I think we've gotten slightly smarter at it. And it's not, well, your description of his role probably has a large part to do with it. That's where I was before you said that. Because he looks like he was a great college receiver playing in a pretty good conference against tough competition. I think he's achieved more at football than I'll achieve at anything in my life, to be real clear. But when you're comparing him to players that on average go on to be successful in the NFL, it's just kind of a different level of production. So he looks great, but not that kind of player. And so usually because he looks great, he would elevate because he's in a decent conference and he's scoring pretty well. But I think we've gotten slightly smaller, which is why he's falling. So I think he's probably going to be right now predicted to be drafted in a reasonable range. Like, I'm not against him. But so he's a really awkward evaluation for me. Like, this is a player I used to be able to hate on because everyone loved him more than they should. And now everyone kind of likes him about how they should. You know, the odds are against it, but he was pretty good in college. I agree. What did I say? Breakout age at 20 in the 30% threshold. And he hit a 30% threshold alone is actually pretty impressive. But at age 20. Pure late breakout profile. Again, he improved, as most people do, as he played and got the role towards the end of his career. That's not shade. It's just typically not what I'm looking for, not my sort. Yeah. But yeah, I could clearly see him being a good NFL player. He was a good college player. But you weren't asking about Jalen Doxson. My two answers are Wandale Robinson and Sky Moore. I think Sky Moore could really drop.
Yeah, he could.
But then again, I've been talking to you too much. Some people actually like Sky Moore like me, okay, Zach? Some do.
I don't dislike Sky Moore. He's not. He's in my top 12, but it's not like.
No, yeah.
I mean,
I know a few players in this class. It's really easy to see if he gets a role, that guy's going to do pretty good. That guy will be a pretty decent little NFL player. And if he gets a place where that role's relied on, I think he could be good for fantasy.
Absolutely.
And most players are, can they elevate? Or what the hell would they do? Or where would they be drafted? Sky Moore's more of a, he does really well at what he does. And if a team utilizes that, they'll do fine. Pat Mr. Sky Moore's head. You did good. You did good, buddy. I could kick my ass in so many ways. Matthew Allen, rebuilding 12-team league PPR. Traded away Juju for the 112. I hate you to my core. Me and you are fighting now, Matthew. Not really. But also got Slayton in the deal. Was that too low? Per Twitter? No, it's right on the money. Per my leagues? Yeah, way too low. You need the 1.8, 1.7. Basically,
I would have wanted.
I think that's
interesting. I would have wanted a sweetener better than Slayton because I don't see in a 12-team league. I don't see Slayton, and you say rebuilding. I don't see Slayton as either being a piece that you're going to use as a young ascending asset or as a trade chip that another team is going to be interested in. So you essentially got a roster clogger plus the 112, and not like the 112 may be fair for Juju, but I would want a little bit more.
In my experience, which is nothing to ADP and it's nothing to your league, but like the value I'm tearing my hair out of is they want Bateman with that 112. Like that's what the kind of trades I think people are interested in. So to me, it looks low, but your league might be different. There's a significant risk with Juju. I think significant upside. So if you feel pretty comfortable with it, like don't listen to my stupid ass. But yeah, from my experience, that's a little low. But the 112 could turn out. You know, you got a mystery box. It might be a boat.
He's going to end up with David Bell there and be great. Who knows?
If it's David Bell, yeah, I think that's pretty solid. Looking to trade away the 106, 107, the 111, and the 102 and the 203. For the 102. Right. Yeah, I don't think you're getting it. But I'd be interested in it. Like, that's 3 firsts for 1 first. I think that's decent.
I think
Jacob's embracing our trade up in this class instead of trade down. And I agree with that.
Yeah, I don't think it's too much.
That's a lot.
I don't think it's too much, but I also think that if I don't get it done, I'm not going to be unhappy. I don't think there's much of a difference between the 111 and the 203. So you're trading the 106 and 107 for the 102. I would rather have Breece Hall than whatever mystery box I get at the 106, 107. So I don't think that's too much, Jacob. But if it doesn't,
try less first though, right?
I'm gonna I don't mind, Peter. You're getting the 102 and the 203. The tier break between the 111 and 203 is nothing. Like I don't.
That's fair. If you just consider the 111, the 203 the same thing, which they kind of are, then that's the trade I actually sent. The 6 and a 7 for the 102. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, it's fine. And it probably impresses them to see it, so you probably get more likely to get it done.
3 firsts, and yeah. But
well, exactly my reaction, right? Wow, that's probably what.
If it doesn't get done, I'm not disappointed in it. Like I still think you get with 106, 107, and 111, you're probably walking away with at least one player who's producing for your team and potentially 2, just the way numbers work. Like #math, Peter Howard with the spreadsheets. Like so no, I don't think it's too much, but I also wouldn't be disappointed if it got turned down.
Derek during the live feed to see my live reaction for a second, and he said he laughed at me, which makes me happy. Zach Harris, background looks sharp. I appreciate that, Zach. You're literally the first one to answer my question. I appreciate that.
I thought he was talking about my red wall.
Multiple attempts. That's actually true. Now I feel sad again. Thanks, Zach. Bob, would you give it the 104 and the 107 for Breece and the 112? Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh,
not even a question.
I thought you were going to disagree. Yeah, I definitely would.
I would.
Ryan Kittleson. I think I like the more mellow background music, by the way. It's much more my speed. It doesn't sound as dynamic. I'm sure we're going to lose half the audience, but it's much more casual. As someone with Trevor Lawrence, same here, but I'll get to that another time. But I'm in a league that literally scares me. Not because it's overly complex like a John Bosch league, but the fantasy meat in there is a little scary to me. And I have Trevor Lawrence because I had the 101 last year, by the way. And sorry. Only QB in a 1 QB league. That's not great, but it's a 1 QB league, so I'm not panicking. Bridgewater's whatever. Currently in a productive struggle. I would say so. Would you draft another QB in any of these spots? So 105.
Second
round.
The
answer is going to be don't draft a position, right?
All right.
It's who's there.
But
draft the best player.
If Malik Willis is there in the second round, then he's worth it. It's It's the shot on Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts. It's the shot on that running quarterback that I'm willing to take in the second round of a rookie draft.
If I were to guess how your draft goes, Malik Willis is probably the best player in the second round if he falls there.
Yep.
But don't overlook someone else because you want the quarterback. That's it's about the player, not the position or the need. But yeah. Plus money. Hey, 10-team Superflex. I have 4 QBs. Congrats. Mahomes, Burrow, Watson, Winston. I'll trade Burrow, but it looks like a really solid core. Do I still go hard for Mitch Trubisky on the waiver wires? It's a fair point.
Well,
I mean,
actually,
value. What else are you going to get?
Go get him and trade him. I mean, that's fine. If there are teams in your league that are hurt for quarterback, the only issue is it's a 10 team. So does
I would see my role in that situation, just guessing your situation to be fair, more as price enforcement. Don't let them get him for $1.
Yeah.
Go to what you think the average price should be for that level of quarterback off the waiver wire, and just make sure they don't get him for less than that. If I don't get him, you're fine, but also they have to spend. Kind of like an auction strategy.
Yeah, and this is a tough time to be spending your free agent budget now, because you know that there are going to be players that pop off in preseason and week 1 that you're going to want. It's going to be the James Robinson thing. Like, there's going to be somebody somewhere. There always
the way
is.
This off season's been.
Yeah,
God knows. Especially in the draft,
No.
So yeah, I'd more try and price and force just a little bit, play safe. No. But there's going to be stuff to do with your fab. I do like spending it early, but this is probably a little early. And yeah, that's the way I play it. Weaves, I almost put this in. I basically think CD is Jerry Judy to the fantasy community if Jerry Judy landed with Dak as QB. I really don't see a top 5 season for him. Like, dude, Jerry Judy's valued at so much lower than that. I know everyone's highlighting the fact that he increased. He's valued right now on Keep Trade Cut. I went and looked it up on your all's favorite value system instead of mine on DLF. He's valued lower than he was as a rookie. So it's risen because of Wilson, but it's still people still think he's less likely to break out than when they did when he was drafted. So it's risen, but he's not CD Lamb in value. Like, you get 2 picks and Judy for CD Lamb is kind of where I'd have it. But I see what you mean. Like, you just don't believe in the player. You think he's more limited in his upside, and that's fair, man. If that's where you're at on the evaluation, I don't hate it. Like I say, you can trade CD. I'm in a different place. Hopefully my one man's opinion on what his value should be in trade helps you. I don't know. Zach, I just keep talking right on over you, man.
No, I think that's fine. Like, if Weaves, if you don't believe in CD Lamb, if that's your assessment of him, you don't think you see a top 5 season or a top 10 season in CD Lamb, and you can get top 3 wide receiver value for him, go do it. Like,
or even close to that. If you're out, this is maybe one of my things. I think I do well in trades. If I'm out, I'm willing to take that little less than I should. That's why I always bemoan not having Gabe Davis or not having the players I think are good and could, but I don't think it's going to happen because I'm willing to trade them for what I can. If it's close, I'd take a little bit of a loss because I'm willing to bet on what I think. I mean, that's the whole fun of this for me. So
the problem though is most of the wide receivers that are up in that tier are either like 4 or 5 years older than CD Lamb, or they're Jalen Waddle. Like, you're pretty limited in the way you're moving on from CD Lamb, I think.
Yep.
But
Evan, 10-team PPR Superflex. What do you think you would have to add to J.K. Dobbins to get Breece Hall from the 110? Oh wait,
no. Do you think Dobbins and the 110 for Breece Hall?
I don't know your league. I think that might get it done in a 10-team Superflex, but I will be really excited to do that. So my instinct is no, because I rarely get what I want. Zach?
Yeah, I think that probably gets it done.
I would offer it for sure. I think that's fair to offer. I don't think that's terrible.
But I'd also
great.
I mean, terrible. We're talking like Breece Hall, like post draft. Has your rookie draft already happened? Like what?
If you're betting
what's the
on
context?
The pick, that's different.
It's
because we don't. He could fall to the 4th, in which case this will look silly. At that point.
But if it's Devi, like it's a little.
You already got him on roster. Yeah. So yeah, I think our answer is here. We would do that trade. I would be willing to send that trade. I don't think it's too low, but if you're actually trading for the pick, that might change things a little bit. So just be aware of that, just in case you don't come back to tell us. Caleb, Superflex 10-team traded DJ Moore and Tyler Boyd. for Cam Akers and Robert Woods and a first. How'd I do? I know this is kind of trade that makes me feel nervous. It feels like you know something I don't, but I really want DJ Moore in that trade.
So I agree with you that I like DJ Moore. I like that trade, Caleb. I like getting Cam Akers and I like getting the 23 first. Robert Woods doesn't really matter right now. Like he's coming off an injury. You're kind of waiting and seeing what he does in Tennessee. But Akers, I think his value increases, and I'm trading him. So this is to me is
this is the kind of trade I hate because I can see the other side being the better side, but immediately in my head I'm like the other side. Like I feel like I'm the fish in this trade.
Like I don't blame
know
you.
How to beat that.
I like DJ Moore as a piece, but Tyler Boyd at this point doesn't hold the Tyler
I give you
Boyd
a third for him. Any league
but,
you want, but that's what he is. Yeah,
but that's it. And so like Tyler Boyd and Robert Woods are closer than you want to admit, and so
that's probably fine.
Cam Akers and a 23 first for DJ Moore. Like I don't mind that, and especially if I can turn around and trade Akers when his value comes back, then I think I've done a really nice thing. So I like that trade for you, Caleb.
That's a good trade. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, look at you thinking so. DJ Moore for Cam Akers in the first, that sounds like a different trade than it read to me straight off. You know what I mean?
I try to be
normally
really
I lean the wide receiver, but that first means that you can bet on the running back, and you can also trade that running back later. Yeah, that's a fair point. We'll say we're split though, just for the sake of it. That means it's a good trade, Caleb. It means it's probably a good trade. And if you like the players you're getting and the pick, I think you're good. Frank C, what's up, guys? 12-team 1QB PPR and a rebuild. Give Godwin and the 111 for the 106 and the 23 first. Appreciate the show. Appreciate you, Frank. And yes, I would do that.
Yeah, that's pretty even, especially when you say
and
rebuild.
If you're building.
Yeah. And because you're, again, getting rid of Godwin, rebuilding your next year's pick probably goes higher. You know what I mean? Like if you're getting rid of... No, you're good.
No, I'm not doing it anymore.
Go, Peter.
Now I do like the way thinking of value and thinking about building. I can understand why it's so attractive because it simplifies stuff. You don't have to not think Godwin's going to do well. You're just like, I'm moving my value to the future. So that's always a win if you're building and you have that mindset. I do think it's really important to know when you have to change gears at some point.
Yeah.
But you do always have to be building. That's I kind of stay in a neutral where I'm always building, but I'm mostly focused on trying to win. But that build, it just simplifies stuff. If you're building or growing, this is easy to see. This is like, yeah, hands down, you do that. It simplifies stuff so easy, and I get why people want to run in that gear, if you know what I mean. It makes Dynasty's easy.
It's so funny to me how differently you and I approach that process. Because and Russ the same way, because Russ is always trading and rebuilding kind of on the fly, and I don't do that where like when I'm in a rebuild, I'm here and I've identified a class 2 years out and I just tear it down because I know that I'm not gonna get to where I want to be, and I amass a bunch of picks in a class that I feel is strong. Because again, if you're hitting on 50% of the players in the first round, but you have 7 or 8 first round picks, all of a sudden your team looks real good. If you're identify, again, it was the 27 class. 2017 class. It was the 2014 class. Like if you identify those classes, I think 2023 is going to be one of those classes. And so I like this. I like the idea of the rebuild where if you can be one of the bottom teams and have a top pick plus another 23 first, plus you got the 106 this year, I think that kind of snowballs. And
I love that. I love that way of going about it. I do. If I come across that first, but I don't want to just steal it. And I've really been trying to work on what do I want, because, the last couple of years I've been a little inactive. I've been mostly creating content and enjoying the community. And I'll admit my league play sucked. But even before that, I was in the community a couple years when I joined our leagues, and the way I'm used to playing Dynasty kind of failed. Now, I mostly attribute that to the competition level rising. It's easier to kick some flea flicker leagues around. And so coming back to it, I'm like, I just want to reinvent my process a little bit. And the way I've come up with is, or the way I want to try. I'm not even advocating for it. If it works, I want to adjust and move on. But I just want to explain honestly as I can what I'm trying to do. And that's more rebuilding as I go, but also concentrating on seeing the offseason more as a preparation for a dynasty draft. But it's not a draft, like what I was explaining before. And I think that could be possible in the leagues I'm playing in at a higher level. And at least you're always insulated because you're always trying to add value, but you're always competing. And that's what's attractive to me. But your way is honestly, it's probably more established. That's probably a better way.
Well, I'm trying to make
my own way, Zach.
Peter, I love what like that thought. I love the idea of the offseason as a draft, and I keep having Russ in the back of my mind saying draft for value, trade for need. So if in the offseason you can trade for value and then trade for need, like that's brilliant. I like that. It's
if it works, then it should work in Dynasty generally. Yeah. But I do genuinely feel like the moves I used to be able to rely on making just aren't available to me. Whether it's my league mates have figured me out too much, or whether my league mates are just honestly better than me, I need to adjust for the way it's turning out. Like I don't play in enough leagues to talk about win percentages. I just don't anymore. But I definitely feel a decline in what I expect of myself, and I'm like, so I'm going to adjust. I don't care. I'm okay. That's a good part about admitting when you're like enjoying finding out what you're doing wrong. It's not a bad. I'm not like, I suck at this now. I'm like, okay, cool. I get to do something else, and I think I'm trying to find a way that's not unadaptable, but my league mates can't just beat me. You know, they might know more. They might be better. They watch tape and shit. I don't know. So I need to find a way that's kind of a little insulated from my failing, the things I can't do well.
It's winning at the margins. If your league is all like, if your league is all doing this, then
It's kind of why I mess with Jacob Rickroad so much. His whole goal is basically to bet on outliers, and I'm like, one, that's not what that word means, Jacob. But also, I think it's interesting to always go in on the things that shouldn't happen, or at least because he doesn't. He identifies the things that shouldn't happen
that do happen.
That's what he's trying to get for, and so it's the non-outlier outliers, and it's a really tricky read. And I think he's good at it. I value his opinion on it. At least I don't always agree, but I think it's an interesting approach, very different than mine, and I like that. Different thoughts, you know. We're just here for fun, and that's fun for me. Jacob Calloway, DK for Gabe. I think we already answered this one. Yep. It's a little much, but sure. I would count it. Caleb, 10-team Superflex, Mac Jones, Rondale, Henderson, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Is he still a sleeper? That's awesome. Let's trade him a little bit. Carr, Mooney, Jeff Wilson. Which side? Oh, that's a trade. That's an honest trade. Okay. It's a super flex, so I guess the Carr side has to win, but I prefer the Mac Jones. This is a trade I would send because I prefer the players and I'm willing to take a bath a little bit for that kind of a thing. So I'm on the Mac Jones Rondo more. I don't mind getting Henderson at all. He can keep Donovan Peoples-Jones, to be honest. That's fine.
I think I'm on the Jones side too. It's
Carr has a QB upside in a 10-team Superflex. That's why.
Absolutely.
That's the only reason.
And Mooney's probably a better player than Rondale Moore or
I love Mooney.
Darrell Henderson, but like again, it's the potential upside. It's the Darrell Henderson. If Akers gets hurt again, people are going to be excited. There's a trade chip. It's a younger quarterback, albeit not quite as productive as Carr. It's pretty even.
I take too many of the players I want to take the risk on this year. Like I'm interested in the fact no one sees upside in Mac Jones, but he was good as a rookie in New England. And the same with Ron. Like those are just players I have on my. I'm interested, and you're not giving up too much on the other side. Like Derek Carr's good. Like I really think there's underrated upside there. I love Donald Mooney, but I'm not giving up that top 12, that top 5 upside anywhere here. So I'm good with it. But yeah, your perspective's probably less biased. Bob Gilchrist says Bosh, which I agree with wholeheartedly. John Herbert. Also, that's probably what it was. Bob's also a pretty good person to hit up about commissioner questions. That's why he's referencing. Bosh. Joe Herbert. I've never played a league with a taxi squad. I'd rather just increase the roster. That's an interesting. Sorry, you go.
No, Joe, the reason I love playing in leagues with taxi squads versus increasing roster size is for this specific reason, because it actually makes later round picks valuable, because you can stash a player on your taxi squad for 2 years that you picked in a rookie draft. Whereas if you just increase roster size, fine, you're churning the back end of your roster, you're probably not hanging on to them. But if you have a no consequence, you draft a 5th round pick and he just stays on your taxi squad, those 5th round picks actually become valuable. Like in my home league, you see 4th and 5th, and we actually have 6 rounds just because Kyle's crazy. But we 4th and 5th and 6th round picks get traded all the time in our live drafts, because there's somebody that somebody wants to take a shot on, and all of a sudden your 5th round pick is worth a 4th next year, or maybe someone puts you
have to pick him to put him on the taxi squad, so a waiver claim doesn't do it.
And you don't like, if somebody else has him and you trade for him, like he doesn't come with the tag, so like you have to draft them, and so you end up, the people who really
this is beautiful, by the way.
Yeah, the people who really dig into rookies will pay to go get those later round picks, because now they have an avenue to stash those players. Whereas if you don't have that, if you just have extra roster, those 5th, 6th round guys, they're not making your team. Who are we kidding?
Tell you what, Joe, I was desperate for taxi squads when they finally found somewhere to play Dynasty and actually had a really good win rate. I was like, where are these taxi squads I keep hearing about on the podcast I'm listening to? Because they sounded like that was Dynasty, having a developmental squad. And the more I played, the more I realized it didn't matter. I had these extra roster spots that I can do more with them. And then playing a little bit further and meeting people like Zach, you see what he just, like, if you create a rule set, another segment of your league's charter, whatever you want to call it, you got to realize like good fantasy players are all basically New England. It's like, it's in the rules. They will find an edge that rule creates and take advantage of it. And that's how they beat you. And so it took me forever to figure out that taxi squads are essentially not what I wanted. But by having them, it created this element where a good player would just completely take advantage of it in a good way. Like, that's what it's for. And so Zach's found a way for a taxi squad to have more value than just another roster spot. So no comment about trade squads. Like, I think it's dealer's preference, whatever you prefer playing in. But I think that's a really interesting element of Dynasty. Like, the good players in your league, they're New England. They're going to go study that rule and figure out how they can take advantage of it. And they'll beat you with it, or they'll try to beat you with it. And it's really interesting. Like, that's the Anyway, sorry. I think that's the interesting observation.
For example, in my home league, and I know nobody cares about your dynasty leagues, but Kyle, his taxi squad is Ayuk, Devin Asiasi, Eno Benjamin, Harrison Bryant, Travis Etienne, Chris Evans, Demetric Felton, Jerry Judy, Trey Lance, Trey Nixon. So, like, he's got this huge taxi squad that you wouldn't necessarily get if you extended your roster 2 or 3 spots, because he's got 9 people on taxi squad, and some of them, like Ayuk was a 3rd round pick. Trey Lance was a 3rd round pick because it's a 1 quarterback league. Like, all of these things that you wouldn't necessarily. And like in this same league, I traded.
You can basically lock them on away in a place that you can't. As long as you pick them, you can lock them in a place people can't find them on the waiver wire. And
absolutely,
it's interesting.
Like, I traded back into the 5th round in that league to draft Darnell Mooney a couple years ago, because I was like, I want Darnell Mooney, and I'm happy I have him.
But I think that's such a clean example. Like, good gamers like you or John Bard, like, people are just good at games. That's how they get an edge. I'm not, and I so did not think of it that way until someone literally explained it. It's like what you can do. I'm like, oh my god, you found an edge. That's the whole game, right? Yeah.
And that's it. Like it's not just a taxi squad to have a taxi squad, but they're like,
yeah.
When you make a rule change,
if you make a rule around it,
yeah,
you can try to find a way to take advantage of that a little bit. It's awesome. 12 team Superflex, 0.75 tight end premium, so like a Russ special, basically.
Yep.
Tyler Lockett, the 112, 103 for Gesicki. Oh, ow.
I still think I'd rather have Lockett.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep Lockett, but it's fine because Lockett doesn't have much trade value, but he has points. I get it. I take the Lockett side, but I think it's even. And if you need tight end premium, I get why you might do that. And if you want Gesicki, I think that's fine too. He's, above average streamer. Gone are the days that he was a good buy. I remember arguing for Mike Gesicki. That worked out. I like it when things work out. Weeds, 12 teams through flex PPR or just points per Kyler. What do you think? Points per Kyler, maybe? Kyler and the 211 for Mac Jones. T. Higgins on the 107. Probably just keep the upside of Kyler and a Superflex. You?
Yeah, I think I would. Having Kyler and Herbert in a 12-team Superflex is an absolute trump card.
Having said that, T. Higgins is a good piece. Like I said, I think he's well valued. I think he belongs there, but people want it so much you can trade him more easily, and I'm attracted to those pieces when I'm trying to redraft my roster. But yeah, I just keep Kyler's just such a piece.
T. Higgins is the kind of player that you have on your roster and hope that you can trade him in a package to get Kyler.
Yes.
Like you're moving up to get Kyler, and so
that's kind of, I think we're both on the same approach with that kind of thing. But if you wanted to go the other way, like I was trying to offer that's the way. If you want that other side, that's that's a reason to be doing it. I could take T, trade him more easily to get something else. And if you don't want to think of trading T, then it's probably not enough.
Having those two quarterbacks, starting Kyler and Justin Herbert, basically gives you a 5 or a 6 point advantage over your league mates to start off with just your quarterbacks, like a week. Like they're 22, 23 points a week. Like that's.
Sorry, J Mike's made a comment that also makes me happy. Bob Gilchrist, Joe. The tech squad gives you a chance to hold some guys you believe in, not to be tempted to cut them before their sophomore season. Is more important than salary cap.
I don't think it's more important than salary cap.
Find a reason.
Yeah.
Carry on. No.
I don't think it's more important than salary cap leagues because I again, it makes 4th, 5th round picks more valuable in leagues that aren't salary cap. So, I mean, it's whatever. Bosch is on his shoulder. I get it. He's got to say salary cap. That's fine.
Yeah, Mike says, thanks, Derek. Pete sent me. See, I got all happy and he's just here to praise Derek. That's upsetting. Appreciate it, Derek. Thanks for tuning in for 3 seconds. Joe Herbert, Bob. He's talking back to Bob, so I guess I get to skip that one. Think Dynasty have is showing up today, or is it just going to make a liar of me? P2 Thara. P2, how you doing, bud? I traded Juju at 103 for Pitt.
P to the R.
Bob loves you. That makes more sense. It took you a second though, right? I'm not that. Okay, I'm just stupid. Traded Juju for the 103 for Pitts, a 22 4th and 5th round rookie pick. The 4th and 5th round rookie pick means nothing unless that's pick 4 and 5.
No, I think that's 4th and 5th.
I have the 102. No, they don't matter at all. And I have the 102 and the 106 as a 23-24 contender. Who would I be better off to get the 23 first or the 106 or just drafting with it? Okay. There's a lot in here. I see what you're trying to you have a lot of questions. Let me try and unpick this. Juju for the 103 for Pitts. I think that's solid, especially in terms of value. People are down on Pitts right now, Bob and John, and a lot of people can explain to you how he's this unique dynasty asset that's worth paying up for. The 103 is a big piece. I think Judy is really too much, but in terms of value, I think that's solid. I don't think there's a Pitts in this class or next class.
Right.
So that's where he's so it's such a unique piece. I think that's fair to do. I tend to shy away from him because I just don't value the tight end position, man. But he's a unique thing. Zach, do you feel differently about that trade?
No,
I
think I would take the Pitts side, and then depending on how my league felt about Pitts, like Pitts is a really polarizing player. Pitts has been.
He is.
I mean, he's essentially a first round startup pick now, which
I've had to drop one league I have Pitts in, so I'm now completely out.
it's rich
By the way.
for me, but this goes back to when J Mike and I did the Kyle Pitts episode last year before the draft, and I said, look, you draft Kyle Pitts. You draft Kyle Pitts in the first round.
Yeah.
Even though my hard and fast rule is you don't take tight ends in the first round of like a rookie draft. You take Kyle Pitts because everyone else is so excited about Kyle Pitts that his value is going to go crazy. It is. I think
he's immediately worth more than that one pick.
So. And I think he's worth more than the 103 in Juju. And so you get him, that's and fair. Even if you don't keep him on your roster, you've just gained value. And then as far as the 102 and 106, like hang on to it, get on the clock, see what's there. And if you don't love what's there, I would take a 23 first. I would rather have the 23 first than the 106.
That's what I was going to say about that part of it as well. It's all about who's available. There are some players I'd rather draft. There are some players I'm fine with, but I'd rather trade out on. And the 106 is a really interesting pick this year for that.
To me,
in general, if you're building, just start pushing it down the road. There's never a bad time to do that. So you're fine doing that right now. But if your team's competitive, maybe wait till you're on the clock.
Yeah, and he said as a 23-24 contender. So he thinks he's going to be good in a couple of years. So I would rather have the 23 first. I think you're going to get a better player, and if not, you're going to get more value for that 23 first trading for a player on your competitive 23-24 team. Yeah. Especially in a one quarterback, because that pushes
I've never shy away from.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hate the idea of predicting I'm going to be good in 2 years. Like, I can't predict this year. I'm always I'm trying to become more competitive this year, but I get it. If that's the way you're going with your team, I think you can only hurt yourself by trying to change directions once you're so far into trying to do something. And I think that's a solid direction, so I'm not trying to change your mind on that. So yeah. Randy, 14-team PPR, Superflex. Would you do 110 Mariota reset for Godwin, the 213? Wow, 13. And a 23 second. Okay, so it's a 14-team league, so just everything down and up. Like the 110's a little bit better, I guess. Everything else a little bit worse. The owner I'm trading with has Watson, Herbert as his only QBs. Those are good quarterbacks. You guys awesome. Appreciate that, Randy.
I don't.
Let me see what's going on here. The 110 and stuff, basically, for Godwin. Right. And the one at 2 seconds.
But Mariota is in a 14-team Superflex, has value this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, I would have to see your team, Randy, because I don't think Godwin's value is going up. I don't think he is appreciating in value. So you're going to
definitely not going up.
And you're going to see him like Tom Brady's not going to be there next year. Tom Brady already retired once. Man, I don't.
So this guy's trying to get Mariota from you. No, this guy's trying to get the 110. I honestly like Mariota has value. That's true. He's trying to sneak him in there, but he's trying to get the 110 for Godwin. Essentially, Mariota's too much in the 14-team Superflex to throw in. Probably. Yeah, that's the way I'd go. Like if you take Mariota out of this, I think it's good to go. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it in general. I don't see anything I particularly want on either side. I don't like giving up the 110.
No, and again, at the 213, I mean, you're basically in the third round. I'm probably sitting pat for now, thinking that I can get a deal done with Mariota in it later. You may not get Godwin, but you may be able to do something better than this one.
If he's got the 1 of 10, I'm assuming his team isn't terrible. Right. That's an assumption though, so change it if not. So I'm not panicking, and that means Godwin has probably more value to you because Godwin's probably going to score points, but his value is never going anywhere.
Right.
But down. Yeah, mostly I'd stand pat. I think the only thing that changes on this trade is the 110. On the clock, that could be worth a hell of a lot more than it is right now. So I'd rather just stand pat. I think it's fine, but I'd rather stand pat. But I get what you're trying, I think. Julian, who are the best win now wide receivers? I could get by selling 107 and 112. Current champ, own Justin Jefferson, Godwin, OBJ, Julio. Nice. Van Jefferson, Tim Patrick. Sell Van Jefferson. Not that you can. He's not worth anything, but that's the one on there that I like. Let me see. First, I can answer the first part of the question better than I can answer what you can get for specifically the 107. It's all league dependent, man. But win now wide receivers, I think Michael Thomas, Amari Cooper. I'd have to pull up the list after that, but those are the two that come to mind first. Mike Evans, actually. And I think either of those three could be gotten with the 107 alone. So you could probably get two of them with 2 picks.
I would
wait. Suggestions?
Yeah, I would again wait. You got the 107 and the 112. I would wait and see who's on the board at 107. If somebody like Drake London, who a lot of other people like that I am a little tepid on, falls to 107, I'm starting to offer the 107 and 112 for somebody like DJ Moore.
Keenan Allen. Sorry, Karen.
Yeah, but I think you can get younger. Yeah. I think again, DJ Moore, Devonte Smith, players like that who are a little bit younger. You're still win now, but you're win now with an eye to the future. Whereas if you get, and Keenan Allen's a good one.
Juju.
Yeah, Juju's but I don't think you need to. I don't think you need to give up both to get Juju. I don't think you need to give up 107 and 112. And so that's the thing. You might be able to split them up, get 2 guys that are undervalued. But if I'm looking at both of those picks, and I'm on the clock, and I know that someone in my league is interested in one of these wide receivers, whether it's Olave or whether it's Drake London or maybe Kenneth Walker's on the board, and people are really excited about Kenneth Walker. Like, then all of a sudden you've got a little bit of leverage. You can start looking up that board. You can start looking at the Devonte Smith. You can start looking at Terry McLaurin. You can start looking at DJ Moore and with those 2 picks.
Yeah, it's a good way of pointing. You can go a lot of ways with this, because one of my thought was get Allen Robinson and more value. Yeah. Like that's a win now receiver with one of those picks. You could probably get Allen Robinson and a 23rd something. Yeah. So that'd be awesome. But if you're literally asking, package those picks together, who do I go get? The only player I can think that might be more win now worth 2 picks, probably AJ Brown. Like, he's young enough. He's definitely got the upside, in my opinion. And people are a little shy on him because of his injury. So I think that's the highest player I could think you could get with just those 2 lower picks. But depends what they're gonna think, obviously.
All right, here's the other.
I'd much rather get like Michael Thomas and Keenan Allen and Amari Cooper. Or
Yeah, that was
so.
So split those picks up, and go try to get two of those guys. Go try to get Keenan out, like add OBJ or add Van Jefferson or add a second and a 23 second to these picks, and go try to get Keenan Allen with one of them. Go try to get Mike Evans with the other one. Go try to those type of players that are a little bit undervalued, that are a little bit older. Yeah, Michael Thomas, Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, those guys. You might be able to get two of them. I do
like the energy of trying to get the best guy, though, with both.
Yeah.
I'd like the energy, and for me, that's A.J. Brown. But if you like, well, actually, no, that sounds good. I would be more than happy to do that, too.
I mean, look at this.
Way you feel better
if you all of a sudden had Justin Jefferson, Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, and Godwin as your wide receivers, and you got them with a combination of those two picks in a couple of seconds, like how excited are you? Yeah. Keep Tim Patrick, of course.
I know
keep Tim Patrick.
Let's not go crazy, but yeah, that's true. That way you can stock it out and rather look for the most upside. Whichever way you want to go, but I would try for one direction or the other. If it doesn't work, you can always go the other direction. To be fair, I really can't think of anyone like AJ Brown that might just be worth two. That is decently valued. Like you could have, like it's still in 25 or so, and has that ultimate upside. Like everyone else with that upside, I think.
DJ Moore, like he's the one that I can think of.
First, he needs a quarterback at this point. I mean, his performance has been great, but team can't make touchdowns. Problem. But yeah, I get it. DJ Moore's a good option. Let's AJ Brown, DJ Moore. Go on, go get one of those guys. Jacob Calloway. Whoa, what happened there? Why won't this come up? Jacob Calloway. How much do you weigh Kenny Walker's lack of receptions in college? This is just going to be we're doing this take all off season. How do you tell the difference between a running back that isn't a weapon in the receiving game versus a running back that wasn't used in the passing game?
I don't think you have
I split the difference and just admit I don't know.
And again, I don't think you have to tell the difference, because
we get to the same place in different directions.
Absolutely. I don't think you have to tell the difference, because the NFL generally drafts guys to do what they've seen them do. And there are going to be exceptions to those
That's
rules.
What I think happens.
And that's fine. There are going to be exceptions to, Melvin Gordon was in a backfield with Danny Woodhead. There's no chance Melvin Gordon was going to be a receiver. Danny Woodhead got hurt. All of a sudden, Melvin Gordon's a receiver. You saw the same thing happen in Jacksonville, and all of a sudden, Fournette became a pass catching back. But those are the exceptions, not the rule. The rule is, Nick Chubb can catch the ball,
and it's okay to go for those exceptions. Yeah. And here's what I say: where do you rank Kenneth Walker and rookie running backs? Is he like third or lower?
Yeah, he's great. He's good. He's very good. He's third. Very good. Maybe second.
Here's the thing about the Kenneth Walker debate. Like, we have this conversation every year, and it's a very fair question. And don't let me sound dismissive of it. It's a good question. You have to decide your own way on it. I don't know of a way to tell the difference, and so I split the difference and say I've only seen the running back. I've seen the NFL like 98% of the time. Literally 99% of the time, they draft players to do what they've seen them do. And I believe Kenneth Walker can catch the ball. Like, he can do this. I fully believe it. He's an incredibly talented athlete. He could figure it out. I don't know the team's going to be ask him to do it, though, too much. And so that's where I land. Here's the thing, though.
Jacob,
running back 3 for me, in fact. Like, it's not really a decision you have to make. Like, he's really high up the draft board for everyone because he is a good running back. Running back. So unless you're trying to decide between like Spiller or whoever your running back who is and Walker, and I think the draft's almost going to make that decision for you in most cases. That's the other part of it I bring in. Like
Jacob, I have looked at this, and this is, again, it's not hard and fast. It's not a rule. It's not even a threshold in the traditional sense, but I've looked at pass catching running backs, and the majority of running backs, in fact, it's like 86 or 87% of running backs that have 30 or more receptions in the NFL had a season of at least 20 in college. And again, that's not predictive. It's not saying that they will, if they have 20 receptions, will be good. And if they don't have 20 receptions, they will be bad. But I'm going to bet on the side that is the overwhelming majority, the guys who come out that have caught passes, regardless of whether or not they can. Because I think that like every single player in the NFL that as a running back, if you're good enough, if you're athletic enough to be in the NFL, you are athletic enough to catch the ball. Like you can do that. Are you going to be the best pass catcher in your backfield? Maybe not. If you haven't been in college, the chances of you coming to the NFL where the competition gets better and you being the best pass catching running back in that backfield, that becomes slimmer. And again, it's like Melvin Gordon, it's Leonard Fournette. There are a few guys that have done it. There is an overwhelming majority that get Nick Chubbed. You know, there's a Kareem Hunt in the backfield that's catching passes, and that's fine. It doesn't make Nick Chubb a bad running back. He's a running back.
Jonathan Taylor got it done to him his first season. And that's Jonathan Taylor.
And Jonathan Taylor Jonathan Taylor had a 26 reception season. Like I was on Jonathan Taylor as a pass catcher, but Nyheim Hines is a better pass catcher. He is.
Josh Jacobs, to offer you an alternative, was an amazing receiver in college, and the problem in the NFL is the Oakland's like, nah, you don't need to catch the ball. So there are always exceptions. And real world though, like I like that way of going about it. That's my process on it. Like the NFL doesn't ask most players to do what I haven't seen them do, but it doesn't feel like that's not because I know they can. And so the way I made myself feel ultra confident with that being my process is to think, why would I underrate pass catching ability in the NFL? Like these guys have been playing football since they were like 6. And some of them for the last 4 years at the highest level they've played at have been consistently been trying to run routes, been trying to catch the ball at a higher competition level. They've learned a lot doing that. So when he goes to the NFL and he hasn't done that bit in college, I think it's less likely, he has more to pick up at an already advanced competition level. And so real world, it's not that he can't, but there is more to it than just, he's going to get dump off. Like I couldn't catch a dump off even though I can catch a ball. You know what I mean? Like it's more complex in the NFL than just catching a ball. It's not that he couldn't learn it, but teams have to ask them to do it, and then they have to develop. So there is more of a barrier than just can he. And so that makes me feel a little more comfortable with it, just thinking of it in terms of I'm respecting the work people put into college to develop that skill set. He hasn't done it, not because he can't, because he wasn't asked to. And could he? Yes. But again, most of the times it doesn't. But again, he's like running back 3 for me. And like on the clock, I can't tell you I'm taking, but even before the draft, I flip a coin between Spiller and Walker. I like both. Yeah. So like it's not like a big ding. I'm not dropping him down my board because he doesn't catch receptions. It's interesting part of his profile. It probably does more to read the landing spot than anything else. And the landing spot's basically just flipping a coin anyway. Yes. I think we threw out a lot of examples, and there are like Derrick Henry. There you go. Never catch passes, never has to. Adrian Peterson. Every year I had to deal with content. This was before I was in the game.
This is the year.
But it was frustrating on every podcast. It was listening to just being player. I was like, this year he could definitely catch 50 receptions, don't you think? It would make me so mad. It's like, yes, he can. He's Adrian Peterson. The chances he's suddenly gonna like it would make me so frustrated.
Do you remember the John?
What we just said.
The John Fox, Jordan Howard season where John Fox was like, we're going to throw the ball to Jordan Howard this year. And they threw the ball to Jordan Howard 8 times in the first game and then never again the rest of the season. And I was like,
It's not like Jordan Howard's a better athlete than most of us will ever be or ever dream to be. Maybe Zach will at one point because he was actually an athlete. And we can all catch the ball. It's not... Anyway, we've said it. And that's my take on it, Jacob. I encourage you to develop your own. You can go the other way. Like, I know people, like, we were talking about, you can bet on likely, unlikely players sometimes. Kenneth Walker is a great talent. He is a great athlete. You can read that he's just going to develop that, but that's where we're at.
Nope.
And that's why we're at that, Dylan, Judy or 23 first and a 23 second? Judy is worth less than that, but yeah.
Non-PPR, I'm taking
that's what you have to trade.
Non-PPR, I'm taking the 23 first all day.
I'm kind of in.
It could be a running. It could be, yeah, but it could be a running back. It's non-PPR. It could be a running back in 23, and I'm taking that.
Oh, I missed that bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, non-PPR, I'm a little less excited about Judy. I was thinking about my podcast. Yeah, that's true, Dylan. Sorry that yeah, excited. Gabe Gearing. I've heard of you. Is that the Gabe Gearing?
It is.
The man of multiple children? As I fed my Jumbo in a bottle, I gotta wonder which wide receiver you all think will need to be immediately bottled upon entering the league. Oh, so
feed nice Garrett Wilson. Feed him. That's my answer. Feed Garrett Wilson. Get it warm. Put a little bit on your wrist to make sure it's not too hot.
I don't know what bottled means in this context.
Feed him. Feed him. Who needs to be fed?
David Bell. Just feed David Bell all the targets. There you go. Bob Gilchrist. Oh, this is a party. J. Mike and Gabe. I know, right?
A party-ish.
I think that means we've made it. We're professional now. Gabe and J. Mike in the car. That's pretty cool. Not to mention Derek and Bob and everyone. Mayday. Appreciate it. What would you trade to get in the 12 teams? I mean, not much. I think he's going to score points, but I'm not overly obsessed with them. A late second. There you go. Max.
I'd trade any second to get him. Because I think he's going to be a top 10 tight end, whatever.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, and sup, bitches. I appreciate that. Only the best commenters say things like that. Plus money. Dylan, W2EF. Judy not worth those picks? No.
I was more
again.
Oh, yeah.
It's risen to Marcus Brown. And they're not worth a 23 third because the 23 third value is so high. I'm willing to trade it, but the non-PPR thing really sways that. But no, that's not where ADP and the trade calculators put him. Can he be worth that to you? Yeah, definitely. And like I said, I would lean that way. And most of my league mates apparently lean that way too. But there is no the value. I get really frustrated sometimes with the trade geniuses because if they're trading me, I get it. But they all prefer the value as it's a static thing, and my stupid head won't fit that in. Is he worth that? Yeah, to me, to you apparently, plus money. The best gauge we have for what most people think in their leagues, ADP, trade calculator values, and stuff like that, says he's not. But it is on the rise, so maybe it's there already. I think it should be. It's close. There we go. There's a guy who literally monitors the trade calculator. So it's close-ish. It's close to ish o'clock. Is it? Awesome. I don't think Dynasty has coming. I think he's gaslighting us. And plus money, I traded him away. But as I said, I'd lose trade. Wonder if I was missing anything. No, and to be clear, Dylan, in a non-PPR, I think that definitely swings it back towards the pick. So
absolutely.
I think that's fine.
Yep.
Caesars, how you doing? What do you guys think of the value of Ronald, Jones, and Marlon? Mech is nothing. They have no value. I don't think they have value. They could be interesting ads if you like them, but I don't think they have value.
Them. He wants to trade them away. Package them, see if you can get a second.
Whatever you can get, man.
I don't think you can, but package add both of them together.
Which is one way of saying they're worth a third.
yeah. But if you can get a second and end up with a Brian Robinson, then you're feeling very good about it.
If you can add them to a third round pick and get a second, I think you're doing pretty well. And if you like them, keep them. But yeah, that's what I would be trying to do. So I'm trying to do with Eno Benjamin and Chase Edmonds as well, but not taking it. Weez, when comparing Burks, Wilson, London, I can't help but look at the difference in competition. Burks had versus London Wilson. Yep, I get it. In Arkansas or whatever it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's Burks, right? Playing Arkansas.
Yep.
I find it perilous to do that, but I think it's fair to ask. You can go and look, and you should, if you're watching the tape, you should try and evaluate whether he's facing the same competition. All I can say is I've tested that shit at the ass. Apologize for the words, because every year I'm told this player just didn't face enough competition. But if he's playing in the CFB, I can't find a single way to make that work for it. I can't find where that is showing up in players who are below the threshold. I think it's fair to squint, maybe. But and honestly, Burks and Wilson, I could see them being close to. For me, I'd take Burks. I think that's where the upside is. But if you were to take Wilson over Burks, I ain't mad at it. London, that's too far for me. That's weighing that thing that doesn't seem to have a good adjustment way too much.
But
it's just way too much.
Are you
again?
Weaves,
some people have London wide receiver 1 this year.
The difference in competition, like Burks played in the SEC, like Burks played Alabama, Burks play, like. So we're saying London and Wilson had no competition. Is that what we're saying? Or are we saying
it was going the other way?
Which is weird because Arkansas played in the SEC. Like this is a thing. I understand that Arkansas seems like it wouldn't be a big school, but it's in the SEC. He played games against Alabama. He played games against Auburn. Like it's.
I guess Ohio.
I'm not
play against too poor a competition, but I mean, we've got Aaron McClellan, and I mean, no, I just don't weight it because I can't find a way of weighting it. I think if you want to use it as a difference maker, go ahead. I tend to lean against it.
Burks went 8 for 179 with 2 touchdowns against Alabama this year. So if you're worried about him in competition, I think relax. Now, if you're worried about his 40 time, if you're worried about the way they used him, then we can have a conversation. But I'm not worried about the.
There's a hand wavy. Honestly, I'm there with competition level. I've really started to look at adjusting within competition level instead of between. Like I've got something I was trying to run before I finished my rookie analysis for the year, which is experience adjusted stats, which is based on their sophomore, freshman, that designation, because I actually have that within the conference. Honestly, it didn't do too much. It actually reduced some of the correlations, some of the signal. But it's interesting to look at, but I just hand wave it at this point. I can't find it. And everyone I know who says they've cracked it and built it into their model immediately face plants when they try to have a player high based on like I've never seen it not face plant people. But keep digging, Gabe Gearing. I have heard of that guy. I think Bob always. There you go, Bob. Enjoy your videos, fellas. Great work. Thank you, man. Really appreciate it. Thanks for coming by. Ryan, thank you for the insight. Insight's a little strong. I'm happy to talk. I don't think I've ever said anything that gauge as insight. But yeah, man, sounding board. Happy to do it. Randy, I like the background. Love your beards too.
Oh yeah, obviously.
They don't get enough mention, I think. We're the bearded podcast, the clean-shaven youths of the other live streams. We're the old guys with beards. Like
all my hair went over to Peter though.
Yeah. Mine's because I'm too lazy to shave regularly. Come on, Wesley. Would you trade away Jamar Chase and the 206 for Waddle and Breece Hall in a 12-team? Oh no, sorry. And the 2022 one, the 12th pick in 2022 in a 12-team Superflex.
I think I would.
To me, this is basically Chase for Waddle and Breece Hall, because that
and a
112 and the 106 isn't.
Yeah, the 112 and 206.
I think we can just scan them.
That's pretty close. Yeah,
I think we can throw those away, and I think that's that's good. That's good. Yeah, I'd do that. your T level immediately drops if you let Jamar Chase leave your squad. But I've never been overly concerned with my T level. And again, it's going to be painful, honestly, watching Chase do what Chase is going to do. He's going to be good. I just think Waller's going to be pretty good too. And you're getting who I think will be a top 12 running back this year.
I think
in his rookie
really
year.
Good. Yep.
It's hard to pick those guys up. That's the price. I think that's fair. Jacob Peterson. I feel like I'm a QB away in a 12 team. Anyway, half point PPR Superflex. What is the best QB you think I could get with the 106 and the 109? 2 first. Interesting. Other big assets are JK. Well, I can assess whether you are actually 1 QB away, or I can tell you the answer to the first question. I'm going to do the other one. Quarterbacks, 2 mid to late firsts. I'd go get Jalen Hurts.
Yeah. Or
if you want to go up, go for Lamar Jackson.
or send one and try to get like Cousins. Again, that's always my default. Is he's
those
good.
Are the 2 I have on the list.
He's good.
Like, which one? It's Hurts.
He's good and undervalued, and I think you can get Cousins for one of those 2 first, or at least close to one of those 2 firsts. Like I think
you could get Tua, but at this point it was almost better to trade away.
No.
So yeah, Hurts is probably my answer. I think Cousins is a really good answer, and you would probably get him for half the price. So yeah. Other big assets are J.K. Dobbins, I assume, DK Metcalf, Fields, and Andrews. I feel like you're a quarterback away, but you know your team. So, Tim Shady, 12-team Superflex contender with Devonte Adams. I want to compete. I want to be competitive. Apologize, and sell Devonte because he's a Raider. Fair enough. You gotta fair. And who trusts that? Who should be my target? So it's not a question of what can I get for Devonte. Again, I'm trying to think of it the other way. I'd rather trade Devonte for value and then go get the wide receiver if I can't get who I want. So the guys I want to trade for if I'm competitive, like top tier, are AJ Brown and Jalen Waddle. A little below that, so I'm expecting to get them for less. So and I expect additions to Devonte Adams. If I was trading for him, Michael Thomas, Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen,
Higgins,
Allen Robinson after a pretty big gap. If you're looking for value, on the other hand, not to compete, and they will score points, but I think Devonte Adams, Elijah Moore, Juju Smith-Schuster.
T. Higgins. You got to mention T. Higgins in there.
Why?
Because I think he's pretty similar to Devonte Adams in value.
Is
he?
Okay.
Yeah. Right. And potentially, I mean, actually, I say that I don't know.
Yes. Would you rather have T. Higgins than AJ Brown or Jalen Waddle? Though?
You think would I rather have both of them?
One or the other.
Probably,
which of the 3 do you want?
Probably Waddle by a hair, then Brown, then Higgins. But I think they're all really good.
No, what I mean is I think the Higgins owner is less inclined to trade him away. Because Higgins is hot, man. I could be wrong. Yeah. I mean, Zach doesn't feel that way, but I see on my timeline is basically just one person after the other talking about how great T. Higgins is and how no one else understands it. So maybe that's just my little bubble, but it's basically just one long post.
That's just
no one gets how great T. Higgins is, and I'm like, okay, I get it.
Peter, that's not your timeline. That is a DM with Russ. That's a DM without house.
Oh. I clicked the wrong tab. Well, okay, then. I'll back up. Either one of those 3, honestly, I think if you can get them for Devonte Adams, you're getting younger. I expect a similar range of outcomes. Yep. And Higgins, Brown, Waddle is fine. If you want to break him into pieces is where the other list I was mentioning come in, too. All right. Stephanie and Caleb, I believe we've seen you here before, lady and gent. Appreciate that. 10-team Superflex tight end premium. We added 2 expansion teams to our league this year. Their teams aren't very good. I wanted to swap 2023 picks with them. What would you add to a mid-high 23 to get a low one? Okay, so Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
You want a first round swap? Well, I've seen people do that out openly if they're particularly braggadocious or egotistical. I've made that mistake. So you can just offer it straight up, or you offer a second round pick with it. That's
Yep.
my default.
Yeah, or if again they're not very good. If you have a young player that people are at least moderately excited about, then maybe you add that, and that's an enticement. But I like the second piece.
Yeah, that's fair. Joe Herbert, outliers, which is just another way of saying it. It's just a double negative. I get it. Yeah. Reminds me of the gentlemanly gentleman. Yeah, it's just a double negative. But it's a thing. Okay, it's kind of a thing, but it's not a thing. Matt, hey guys, love the show. Really appreciate that. Matt, in a 12-team half PPR league, would you trade Albert O, Van Jefferson? I really appreciate these brackets, by the way. It makes it much easier. And 108 for Jalen Waddle.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. I would do that. I would do that as quick as possible.
Yep.
Thanks, Matt. Rob Downs, I have assets for of CMC, Cup, Adams. I'm absolutely nothing else. Offer Javonte, Donovan People-Jones, and the 101, 105. Yeah, I would consider that. Why is DJ Donovan Peoples-Jones in 2 trades tonight? Like, just get him out of there and take the value back.
I think that might be a little light.
It's light. It's very light. But your team's, if that's all you've got, like, I love having those players, but if that's all I have, like no picks, no Smith, no Rondell Moore on the depth chart, I can hope maybe.
No.
That's too little. I would counter though, because it is too light. I want 23 capital. If I'm trading away 3 win, like they could, if you have those 3 players and they all do what they should do next year, that team wins the league. So they should be willing to add some other picks, some other firsts.
Yeah, get rid of the 204 and 304 and see if they'll throw in a 23 first, and then they got themselves a deal. They can even keep Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Oh, even. Yeah, just be great.
We'll be very magnanimous.
It's weird they're willing to give you Javonte to get them, though, because this is, I want those 3 players are going to win me the league this year. That's nice. But he's also giving you a running back, and that's, maybe that's just me, but that feels odd. But
but that's
you can trade Javonte. You can just turn around and flip into someone else, and I would do that. By the way,
absolutely. You might be able to get You might be able to get a first this year and a first next year for Javonte.
But I would try and I would remove some of those picks. I would counter, keep it the same, take DJP off because you don't care. The second and the third, and add a 2023 third. It's not the same. You're asking for more.
Yeah,
but it's simplified. First. Yeah. It would simplify it. And honestly, if they're not willing to do that, like seriously, they're getting some hefty points there. I mean, injuries notwithstanding and everything else, that's the risk they're taking.
Yeah.
But I would add at least a first to that for next year. But hey, that's me. And then I would flip Javonte after the trade went through. Quick a second. Stephanie Clay, 10-team Superflex tight end premium. Any advice on what to do with Pittman? Trade him. There we go. Moving on. He seems like the odd man out on my roster. I have DK, Waddle, Lamb. No, I think they're all solid. He fits in there. What should I add to upgrade? Good question. I don't know who you upgrade to. Jamar Chase? That's the only one left, right? AJ Brown, maybe? Again, I go to that default list. If I'm trying to go top tier to win, I think, Zach is adding T. Higgins. AJ Brown, you already have Waddle. Those are my 3 top tier wide receiver targets. And I would add a first to Pittman for any of them easily. And feel that's pretty fair. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe you try to attack. Again, I still think Devonte Smith is going to be really good.
I'm trading for him, dude. I'm trying my best.
Yeah, so I think Pittman in a second is probably close to Devonte Smith.
Tell you what I'm worried about with Smith, because I love Marcus Brown. This is well established, and and I've given up trading for him. I already have him pretty well on my rosters. But I think isn't Smith's upside Marcus Brown?
No,
and they're both valued the same way right now. No, you think it's higher?
No,
okay,
I do.
It's interesting.
I think Smith does a lot more a lot more things with the ball. So they haven't unlocked the fact that they can use Devonte Smith on a slant and he can house one at any time. It's I mean, he's not the same size because he's a little undersized, but it was very similar to watching Odell Beckham when teams would use him. You know, you can use him deep and he can go make those plays and whatever, but then you would see him slide into the slot, run a slant, catch the ball 15 yards in like down the field, but have a 10-yard cushion in front of the defense and be able to manipulate that 10-yard cushion into a 50-yard touchdown. Devonte Smith is that type of player. And I think he's still being valued lower than where I have him, and he's in that range of Pittman. So I don't think you have to add very much to Pittman to get to Devonte Smith. And then if you look at your roster with all of these young stud receivers, I think he fits in really well as your wide receiver 4.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Actually, I think Pittman and Smith is a straight up trade, but they suck. And the other person's probably like, no, let's keep Smith. So I had a second just to make it feel like they're getting something. Because I would rather have Smith and Pittman. And if Zach Senior sees more upside there, I'm good with it.
I do.
Connor made it.
Top
Everyone
5.
Relax. Awesome. No, it's good to see Connor. Jacob Calloway, if you extend the bench by 10 spots, you can just keep those 5th round draft guys. Anyways,
but the picks don't become valuable. That's the thing. 5th round picks, whatever. But if you have that caveat of you get to keep these guys,
there's only one way of adding them that you can put them in this place. No one else can just pick them up off the way. You're essentially saying, I'm going to put a waiver wire hold on this guy. That's essentially what you can do in a draft. Like this guy's on the waiver wire, but he's held for me.
It becomes a way of making later round picks valuable as opposed to just a roster spot, because a roster spot's fine, but it doesn't change the value of those picks. Whereas now, because you've confined this to picks, but anyway.
And also the other is if I have 10 extra spots, I'm not stuffing those guys on my roster. I'm going to make sure there's literally no running back for you to take off the waiver wire. Like I utilize the other aspect. Like that's the way I would play. If I have 10 extra roster spots, I'm like, good luck finding a running back off the waiver wire. I'm hoarding them. And it just becomes the one that does something, you have to come to me. Like I would use those 10 spots differently than a taxi squad.
It becomes a different game. And that's fine. Like you're going to exploit a different facet of it if the rules are different. But I mean, it just depends on what you want to be valuable.
Because you get him through the draft, you can player evaluate. I think this guy's a late value. I'll hold him a couple years, see if he becomes Donald Mooney. And if it's just a waiver wire pick, I'm going to play it like it's a waiver wire. And that's just, I don't even have to player evaluate. I'm going to roster backup running backs. Like one of them's going to get opportunity at some point is the idea. And normally it happens. And so you also put that player evaluation aspect of it. But again, Jacob, if you're like, I don't see the difference and I don't like the difference, literally no reason you have to play with Tech Squad.
Absolutely.
None. Whatever makes more sense to you and is more fun, and if you'd rather have 10 spots that way, I think that's fine. In fact, I think that's awesome. Yeah. P to the R, I think.
You got it. P to the R.
Very interesting. You guys are thinking on the exact same level I am with picks. Nice to know. Thank you. Appreciate the opinions. Wow, it's good to know. Good to know, actually. It's nice to have validation for me, too, to be honest, man. Appreciate you. West Coast Chiefer. Hello, gents. 12-team Superflex PPR. David Njoku is a free agent in my league. Leave him there. What rookie pick would you select Njoku? I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
It's a shame. He seems to be a big waste. The guy is physically amazing. He was a good receiver in college. At this point, I don't know why it didn't work out, but it doesn't look like it's gonna. Of course, you get Delaney Walker, I guess. A fifth-year tight end breakout when he was drafted as a fullback, but I don't think that's the arc for Njoku. It's sad, man. I am legitimately shocked he didn't do better. And that could just been, that's not necessarily his fault. A lot of things happen in life and in football. So I don't know why I'm still talking about this. That's what I would do. I'd leave him there.
Yeah, I'd wait till I saw Jalen Weidermeyer drafted, and then I'd think about it.
There you go.
Whatever. There's your canary in the coal mine, Jalen Weidermeyer.
Jalen Weidermeyer. I don't know really anything about what makes good football mechanics. Me neither. But watched about 5 games of Wilson today, and I just can't get over how often he jumps unnecessarily. Not sure if that's good or bad. Me neither. It sounds, I don't know. Sounds interesting. I've been told, like, the only thing that comes to my head is being told, like, the Aaron Rodgers method while throwing is to try to get your legs in the air after you throw as soon as possible, because it limits injuries if your feet are planted. Right. So the only thought that occurs to me is, well, at least he's reducing his injury risk if he's midair, I guess. It's strange to think that flying is as dangerous, but I have no thoughts on it. I mean, it sounds interesting. Zach, I'm just kind of vamping unless you have some.
I'd have to go back and look. I didn't notice him doing that any more than, a normal receiver. Sometimes it's a bad ball that, sometimes he misjudges something but I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch specifically to look at Wilson jumping, but it's not something I watched.
Didn't
I watched 14 games of Garrett Wilson, and I did not. That was not a note that I made.
All right, I've been forgetting to say trade for Juju every comment, so just going to throw that out now as a generic. By the way, I'm actively advocating for trading for Juju. Weaves, what about 30% of his catch? Was about 30% of the catches I looked at. Again, the problem here. I don't know the problem. I'm literally watched none of it. Just assume. So I'm not telling you you're wrong. But if you've watched 5 games and you already know that's too few, the percentage is based on too few. If you watch 10 more games and it never happens again, suddenly it's not 30%, it's 5. And so that's the only thing I can think to add. Like, watch more games and then decide whether it is common and what you think of it. The Andy B, I traded 101, 102, and the 23 second. Sorry, 101, 201, and the 23 second. Yeah. For Dobbins, 110, Tony, Trubisky, and 40 in Fab. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I'm not in on Tony. The 110 is, it's fine, but it's no different than the 201 to me.
Right.
And Dobbins is good,
but not the 101.
He's not on the 101. There's probably enough on the other side. I get it. But I think I wouldn't have done it. But you've already done it. So I'm going to tell you did great, buddy. You keep on. No, I'm not, because, one, you asked me, and so I'm honestly going to answer. Don't get me wrong. This move doesn't kill you or nothing. But I think you're going to look back and regret giving up that 101.
And I'm assuming it's a Superflex because Trubisky's in this trade. Yeah. If it wasn't a Superflex, Trubisky would be buried on the waivers. So
I would at least needed that 23 to be a first.
Yeah,
at least.
The issue that I have is you're giving up the quarterback or the 101. You know what I mean? So on the clock, I think you get more than Dobbins 110, Tony for the 101. For if it's Malik Willis, if Malik Willis goes in the top 15 picks and he's going to be the hotness, or if all of a sudden Breece Hall gets drafted by Miami and Miami says, yeah, we don't care about any of these other running backs. Breece Hall is our guy. All of a sudden that 101 is worth more than what you got for it now.
This is the way it went through my head. What needs to happen from the Dobbins side to win? Dobbins needs to finish top 12, which I don't think happens.
Yeah.
The 110, you need to hit with that. And that's like a 25% rate.
Right.
Tony needs to finish top 12 as a wide receiver, or at least top 24, which I don't think happens, but it's within his range.
Are you talking on the Giants or in the league? Because he top 24 on the
next
Giants.
Year.
Literally
next year. Oh. Trubisky needs to be a startable asset next year.
Yeah, and he should.
I would need all of those things to happen for that 101 to have been a valuable trade, and that's just too many conditions. You see you might not need that many things to hit, but if you draft a quarterback, Malik Willis, let's say it is, depending on the draft, and he does nothing this year, he's still pretty much valued about where he is right now, like Trey Lance is. Like, I need nothing to happen. If you draft Breece Hall, like, I'm fully convinced that he at least gets in the top 24 or gets in the... I actually think he finishes in the top 12 this year. And I think those things are likely. Not definitely guaranteed, but I think they're likely. So just leaning on what is likely to happen with that 101, like, I need all those other things to happen. Now, you might feel more confident in Tony, in which case, good. That definitely leans the trade back closer towards your favor. You might be higher on Dobbins, but you need to be higher on all those aspects, I think, for the value to get close. Then again, I will say my usually caveat, in your league, if this is what things are worth, what do I know? You might be like, this is nothing. You should have seen what Saquon Barkley traded for 2 weeks ago. Then it's a different kind of a story, but that's where I'm at. Again, you didn't kill your team on nothing, man. I'm not trying to make you feel bad about it, but I would have needed more for the 101. Brian Edwards also played in the SEC.
So did Debo.
Yes, he did.
I mean, like, whatever. Yeah.
Overdrafted him, it turns out, too, in the second round. And I will do it again. I did give up on him quicker than everyone else. Oh, no. No, let's not go there. I basically mean Bert's competition seems like an A in difficulty. Wilson's is a B. Okay, so he was going the other way.
Yeah,
I'm not too
but again, I'm more interested in the traits that they display rather than who they're playing against. Because to me, if you're playing at that level, if you're playing at a Division I, like high Division I, Power 5 conference, then yeah, the SEC is a little bit better, but you're still, like, if you're playing at Ohio State, if you're playing at USC, you're still facing legitimate NFL players, and I'm more concerned about the traits that they're displaying than the competition they're going against.
Here's the other awkward aspect of it. Michael Thomas and Terry McCollum both came from that team within the same era as well, by the way, and both were outperformed on a per-team attempt basis in terms of overall production and individual per-attempt metrics by Wilson and Olave. So, I mean, that's backwards if the competition level matters. You know what I mean?
And you're looking at Juju and Amon-Ra St. Brown coming out of USA. Like good players come out of colleges. I mean, that's what they do. Fortunately,
I'm not telling you don't care, because you're watching it. Literally, Weez, if you're watching, your opinion matters on that competition level. But I wouldn't be scared because of the helmet, or what do they call it? Helmet scouting?
The laundry.
If you're watching it, like, I mean, Jake Anderson, formerly of the Dynasty Crossroads, didn't like Rashad Penny, not because of his conference, but because when he watched the competition level he thought him facing was just too easy. The O-line was moving it too far. Now, it turns out he's capable in the NFL, but, like, for a long time, he wasn't. And what I liked about Jake's way of doing that, even though we argued ferociously about Penny, was he saw the competition level and felt like it was too low. He didn't look at the jerseys and worry about the conference. So if that's what you're seeing, I would say that matters to you. Fold it into your process. Don't be scared of the name. And that I wouldn't, because as far as I can tell you from the numbers, we can't be. It just doesn't work that way. But if what you're seeing is telling you that, I mean, those are your eyes. I tend to like trusting what you think, you know? So I'm not just trying to dismiss it, just trying to, I don't know, talk, I guess. Tommy Holsworth, I want Josh Jacobs this year. Would you take Devonte Smith or Elijah Moore for him in a keeper league? I want Josh Jacobs this year too. I think he's actually a really good target. I want Smith more than Josh Jacobs. Elijah Moore's about equal. And I think his value, Zach says his value is going to fall after the draft. So throw it to you, Zach.
No, I think you're spot on. I'd rather have Smith than Jacobs than Moore. I think you're going to be able to get more caveat, if the Jets take the wide receiver that everyone thinks they're going to take. I think Elijah Moore's value drops. I don't think Elijah Moore will be in a worse position. Like, I still think he's going to be good and be a slot receiver and drive targets with the Jets, but I think the perception is he's going to be lower. So yeah, it's Smith, Jacobs, Moore for me.
If I have Jacobs and someone offers me Smith, I do that trade. If I have Jacobs and someone offers me Moore, I don't. I maybe go back to them after the draft,
right,
and see if I can't get him
for less than that. Yep,
at a better trade. Because I like Moore. I like Elijah Moore is really good. Like we had to convince people of that last year, and it's nice to know that people have been convinced. So like, don't take that as Elijah Moore shade. Take it as Jet. Why not? Let's take it as freaking Jet shade. We'll just blame that. It's not what it is, but that's what it is. Jacob Peterson. Thanks, dudes. No problem, man. And thanks for calling me dude. I'm getting old enough. No one will call me nice things like that anymore. It's more like sir. And it's not fun. Joe Herbert. It looks like Brandon Cooks is on the trade block. Thoughts on Nico Collins? Brandon Cooks over Nico Collins. Also ham sandwiches over Nico Collins, but cool. I do like the idea of Brandon Cooks. And he's a sleeper for him.
He's saying that Houston is looking to trade Brandon Cooks. So would you
get on the phone with him, man? Like, send him to my. We'll throw passes in the yard. It'll be awesome. I've got Nico Collins on my trade block. We can get this done. Sorry, yeah, Brandon Cooks just perpetually fun. Fantasy, what a interesting career that has been. Saints have to draft rookies and get rid of them. I think that's what Scores did because of that cat. Stephanie and Caleb, 10-team tight end premium. If you had the 104 and had to pick right now, who is it? Well, who else is gone?
That's the question.
And is it
Superflex?
I give you my top 4 ranks in Superflex. It'd probably be whoever the QB1 is. Malik Willis, apparently. Breece Hall, Burks, Wilson.
Peter,
so whoever was left of those 4.
Peter, you're not supposed. You are the numbers guy. You're not supposed to have the same top 4 that I come to as a tape. So you're gonna have to change that because my top 4 is Malik Willis, Breece Hall, Treylon Burks, Garrett Wilson.
Okay, well then mine will be I don't like quarterbacks, so I'll go Breece Hall, Treylon Burks, Garrett Wilson,
Pickens.
Pickens, throw Pickens in there.
Yeah, that's my 5.
Honestly, I've got a real solid tier after that Wilson. It's just a big tier 2. So someone from there, Wilson, Olave, David Bell is fine. You were gonna say something there.
No, I say this year scares me because you and I are in lockstep, closer than we ever have been.
That is actually.
It makes me
think
nervous.
It's just because I've just slowly started copying you over the year. That's the problem. It's not that our processes have merged so much as I've done like I just do what Zach does. No, honestly, we independently reached scarily similar ranks. You should like. I gotta find someone you don't like. You should like Sky Moore more. There you go. 10-team Superflex tight end premium. It was a Superflex. What kind of package was CAH to him up? I mean, depends who you're trying to get, but it takes a first mostly to move from someone that's drafted outside the top 24 right now to get someone inside. I think it takes a first. Got him in a trade with CMC and CH for 2023 first. Not sure what to do with him now. Honestly, I'd keep CEH. I think he's going to score points next year, and people will be like, oh, yeah, shit. Ronald Jones doesn't do that. Cool. And then I would look to trade it maybe. But that's my feeling on it.
Could this be your move to Josh Jacobs? And again, I think they're valued similarly, but I think you're going to get probably more production.
Yeah, Jacobs is someone I'd target over CEH. That's fair. So you could add. What would you add to get Jacobs? I think is the question.
I don't even know that you have to add anything to get Jacobs. I think. Maybe you do, but I think they're pretty close. The other thing I might do is CMC or CEH is like do CEH in a second and try to get Fournette and a 23 first. Because again, I think Fournette again this year with Brady in that offense in Tampa is going to be a top 10, which is dumb. Looking at Leonard Fournette, it's dumb. But if you package CEH in a second and got Fournette in a first, I think you're getting the production this year. Plus, you're getting a first next year. Maybe that's the way to do it. But
All right. Yeah. I would love to have Jess Jacobs over CEH. I think of him as entirely different value. So maybe I'm wrong. Caleb and Stephanie, I asked a Pittman question earlier. I know, yeah, you've got a very striking avatar for me personally. Like, I recognize you two for some reason. I remember you from other streams too. It works for me. I know.
I got my son Caleb, so I get it's Caleb.
That helps.
Caleb, I'm there.
I think I prefer more, honestly. Yeah, but I don't know where the value is on them. It feels like Pittman should be valued higher, but they're probably pretty even. I'd rather have more. Upgrade, that feels more like a skill question. I don't have a clue. I would prefer more in fantasy.
I think it's a sideways move. I think that Pittman probably scores more this year, more retains value better. Yeah. So
that's fair. Gavin Grant.
The second side of this. I read it already.
Oh, sorry. I'm holding you up.
No.
Ayuk and Tony for Smith and Juju. Gavin, thank you. I appreciate the layup, man. Appreciate that. I need an easy one now and again. Weeds, thanks for some clarity on getting hung up on competition is a bit too much. I mean, I would boil it down to you can be as hung up as you like on it, but be hung up on what you're seeing, not the jersey. That's literally what I would say. Like, I can't tell you that the competition can be weighed in, but I would always trust yourself. I mean, what's the fun not trusting yourself? You know?
I am a lot more concerned with competition with the lower school guys. What is it?
The FSB, FBS,
FBS, yeah, like that lower or Division II.
That's a different thing.
And again, those are the players that I look to the combine to answer questions of athleticism.
Yeah,
because if they are just crushing people in their league, but they're not up to NFL level athlete, but if they're crushing people in their league and they are up to that NFL level athlete, then all of a sudden we've got a conversation. So
it's interesting because I normally look. I mean, that's true. Agree. But I also go the reverse of that, where if you're not crushing and you're a great athlete, that's more concerning. Like, I'm not positive on that great athlete.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And that's any level. So,
but I'm not looking. So if I'm watching a player and he's not crushing, I don't care how athletic he is, because like I'm literally watching the film to see what these guys are doing, and if he's not doing anything with his athleticism, then whatever.
That's fair. So
yeah.
Mayday just traded Lockett for the 309 and Gallup in a 12-team Superflex tight end premium. I think it's fair. I'd probably have kept Lockett, but yeah, fine. I think it's fine. Gallup's cool. Gallup can be the new Lockett. That's fine. New underrated guy, whatever. Gavin, should I move Carter or hold him? Michael Carter, I'm assuming, got an offer today. Don't like it, but considering if you don't like it, don't do it. That's what I would always say. I mean, yeah, but I would consider moving Michael Carter. I find other people higher than me on him, but wait, is this the offer? Deontay and a 23 third, or no, it's a different one. Higgins side.
Yep.
Reason I asked last week, traded Higgins for the 301 and for Smith and Juju. Whew. Maybe you're right on that Higgins value of mine, but I'm good with that. Higgins for Smith and Juju, I'm happy. But I thought he was valued higher than that. But I'm I still think you did fine.
Gavin, I love that entire paragraph there. Traded Higgins in the 301 for Smith and Juju. Traded Ayuk and Tony for Deontay. Flipped Deontay in a third to get Higgins. So you ended up with Higgins, Smith, and Juju. Like
golden.
Yeah.
And I like the fact you're progressive trading here. It's a skill I don't have in Dynasty at all. And it's something Russ is exceptionally good at. And it's not easy. Like, you might felt like this was, you're wondering if you did well. I think you did well just to get that far, honestly. You ended up in a great spot.
It's such a skill, cascading trades and thinking that way. It's such a skill, and that's really nice, Gavin.
Good job, man.
Cap tip. Yep.
Yeah, I couldn't. I have never achieved that. So you tell me, my man. Mayday. Sorry, I go Deontay probably because he's a focal point on the receiving courts. I think I like Deontay, but Higgins just is different prospect and a younger, better offense, stuff like that. But I don't not like Deontay, to be clear. It's the weird thing about value. End up being like, trade Deontay, awesome, and then you're like, but I like Deontay. Yeah, I get it. What would you look for in return for Andrews in a 12-team Superflex? A first.
A lot with a tight end premium.
Tight end premium. Yeah, a lot more than a first in a tight end premium because people will value it there, not because it's worth it.
Andrews, well, I tell you, Andrews is the type of player in a.
That's fair. He's very good.
In a 0.75 tight end premium, I am looking to pair Andrews with Kelsey, Kittle, Waller, Pitts, because I think that second tight end, and especially that tier with Andrews, Kittle, Waller, I don't know if Kelsey's quite being devalued yet, but he's going to be. Those guys are devalued, especially even compared to wide receivers, and they're scoring like top end wide receivers because those are guys that get over 100 targets and can catch.
So what you're saying is don't trade Andrews, go add Kittle, go add Waller.
Yeah, I would. But if I'm trading Andrews, I am trying to get a top tier like a top tier wide receiver or a top tier running back. Like
if you could probably go higher than where you're on at his value right now, I think is what we're saying. Whatever you think, add a first. Appreciate it, Gavin. Appreciate you too, man. Zach, you're not going to be here next week. Am I remembering that right?
Yeah, I got previous commitments. I won't tell you that I'm on a competing show, but I am next week. I'm doing some rookie stuff. I gotta
immediately hate you.
I got a rookie. I got a rookie to the mat. Well, it was something that I have committed to way back, so it's just now coming due, and I got to pay the piper. But
it's all right, man. We have this kind of open relationship. You got to keep it fresh. You got to sample some other things. That's how we keep the energy flowing.
Well, see though, if it goes quick, I may jump back in at the end. So definitely drop the link in the DM in case I come back.
Yeah, we've called it treacherous. I don't disagree. Here's the thing. For still 33 of you left, can't tell you how much I appreciate that. I know we have bigger numbers than that sometimes, even during the show. But I'd be happy just chatting with 3 of you, and the fact you keep coming in, really appreciate it. Please share the show, maybe if you're enjoying it though, because more people, more fun. I know though, if we get much more popular, we might have to change the format. We're already struggling to get through everything the way we like to. But
Peter, we got to keep it quiet because I don't think DLF even knows that I'm here. Like
honestly, I was in the Slack channel the other day and it came up, and one of the bigwigs was like, "What did you just say?" And I just completely.
It is
I'm not saying it, but also I'm just kind of veering away. By the way, we've got outside talent.
I'm literally it's half baked.
Don't tell the other streams.
The guy on the couch. I kind of moved in. Nobody noticed me. You bought
authority over every. He's just gonna pop into the stream one day, and we're gonna be like, "Hi, everybody, hi."
I'll just be here.
That's Russ. I don't know what you're talking. That's Russ. It's fine. But yeah, that means next week Russ is. He was meant to come in today, but I'm assuming what he's dealing with is taking longer, which is, we hope it's going well. I don't even know if it's. I assume it's just real life stuff. He's not going to be available next week. Zach isn't going to be here next week, so it's just going to be me, and maybe I'll find someone else to try it because that sounds too much just for me, and we don't just need one opinion on all these things. So I will try and find someone good.
You should bring on Rick Road and you guys should, for 2.5 hours, just argue whether quarterbacks matter to wide receivers.
After this podcast, I immediately went and DM'd him. I was like, "Can you come on my podcast again?" And he reminded me, like, he's like in California. There's a time difference, and he's a very busy man who doesn't devote most of his waking life not working to this because he's smart on me. So like, it's a little difficult to organize, but hopefully we'll be able to get him on the
like
podcast.
7:30 there. That's
I don't sleep. We've got to find 6:30. Got to be a time we find. You know, we'll find time, but probably not for this. But cool. Yeah. But if you got suggestions, I mean, comment away or at me on Twitter at PA Howdy. Let me know who you'd like to be on here. Maybe talk about. I mean, don't got no pull, but I don't mind asking people. I'm very brazen about that, so I don't mind asking them. So let me know who you might want to hear from, I guess. And that's like going to be a 2-week break, I think, between Russ and Zach. I think I'm looking for guest spots for 2 weeks or so. So I really could use some suggestions if any of you all got one. Guess I asked Ryan. Ryan's the only name that occurs to me. Like if I tag him occasionally, he answers. He works for DL. He is DLF.
He is,
maybe.
Yeah.
Also a very busy man, though, to be fair. But yeah. Zach, what are you off to do though? What's the podcast people can check you out on apparently soon?
I am going to be on with the Dynasty, the Fantasy Timeline next week. Right. So Josh Valentin and Dr. Drew, and so it's going to be me and J Mike and Matt jumping on with them talking this rookie class. So
make sure you don't check that out because that's not in the DLF family of podcasts. And all those incredible people that are fun and really good to listen to, definitely don't go and listen to that.
But Tuesday, I'm going to talk with John Hogue, who is on the Superflex Super Show, a DLF.
There's the one. There's the one.
Yeah, so we'll be talking rookies with John on Tuesday. I'm a company man, even though it's not my company.
I'm the company man on the couch.
Yep.
So, you want to see Zach next week, make sure you look over there.